Chapter 1453. That's not how the rules are set, is it? The great Davis's eyes turned cold. It was one thing to test one's cultivation level, but now they were playing this game. Wasn't it a bit too much to surpass levels and defeat heavenly venerables? He'd heard of Yi Tianyun's strength and knew that he was capable. But sometimes, it wasn't a matter of ability, but of principle. As mentioned before, this was a competition between cultivators of the same level, but now it was a competition between cultivators of different levels. No. You set the rules. You only said that he could defeat all of our geniuses. Now that you're giving us a standard, we're already lowering our standards. The great elder's expression was calm, not at all ashamed of his words. That's what I said, but is it really going to be like that? The great Davis was furious. According to this, if they brought a Lord of Heaven, the opponent would have to face a heavenly God. How could they fight like that? It's not like that. Your disciple is so strong. Aren't you going to let him try? The great elder smiled faintly. His performance has exceeded our expectations. He might be able to defeat lower heavenly venerables. If he can defeat lower heavenly venerables by 3 levels, we'll consider it your win. It wasn't just the great elder. The other elders all nodded in agreement. The great Davis looked at his father. The Shotian region lord didn't waver at all. He was still sitting there, motionless. You've gone too far. The region empress stood up and said coldly, how can you make such a conclusion? If word of this gets out, the Shotian god realm will lose face. The region empress loved her son dearly. They finally got to see him, and now they wanted to force him away. The crowd fell silent. They all looked up at the Shotian region lord. Could this be the region lord's idea? Sit down. The region lord glanced at them and said in a tone that brooked no disobedience. The region empress looked at him, wanting to say something but hesitating. In the end, she chose to sit down. The region lord looked over and said, he is indeed more powerful. This isn't against the rules. True geniuses have to fight higher levels. It's not a problem to fight higher levels. We also have geniuses of this level here, such as the ninefold celestial sovereign, who can fight against empyrean gods. Only in this way can he be considered a true genius. He doesn't mean to go against what the fourth elder said. What else could the great Davis say when the heavenly cultivation domain lord had spoken? All right. The great Davis's face was gloomy. It seemed like his father still didn't support him and still chose to stand on the opposite side. Then he looked at Yi Tianyun and was about to say something, but Yi Tianyun beat him to it and said with a smile, Master, leave this to me. I will let them know exactly where they went wrong. Yi Tianyun took a step forward and glanced at them coldly. Come, who was the first one to come up? Let me go first. At this moment, a lower-level heavenly paragon jumped out. His entire body was emitting a domineering aura. Muscles bulged out of his body, making him look extremely disgusting. However, this was more of a symbol of power. He possessed super strength, and even if he wasn't as strong as the mighty god's bloodline, he wasn't too far off. It's heavenly paragon Karma. He's very strong. That kid uses his fists. Heavenly paragon Karma uses his fists too. He will definitely be able to defeat that kid. This is going to be interesting. That kid's arm will definitely be crippled. How arrogant of him. I don't like him. I don't know where he came from. Maybe he cheated to win against our senior brother. They were all excited to see heavenly paragon Karma come up. They felt that they would definitely win this time. They didn't know what shamelessness was. They only knew that they had to win. Otherwise, the cards would really be reshuffled. Yi Tianyun looked at heavenly paragon Karma and turned to look at him. This person was definitely an outstanding early-stage lower-level heavenly paragon. Looking at him, he was the strongest early-stage lower-level heavenly paragon. Looks like they sent their strongest as soon as they came up. They don't want to drag things out anymore. Yi Tianyun smiled. He wasn't as concerned about face as before. He wanted to suppress heavenly paragon Karma immediately. After heavenly paragon Karma came up, he looked at him coldly. I heard that you're very strong. All this time, I've never had a match in terms of strength. However, Your cultivation is so much lower than mine. I'll let you punch me first. Let's see if you can move me. However, with your strength just now, it's really no different from an itch. His two huge fists slapped each other, emitting a dong-dong sound. Then, he patted his chest, indicating for Yi Tianyun to attack him. Such a generous gesture was actually a provocation to Yi Tianyun. Is that so? Then I won't be polite. Yi Tianyun grinned. He wouldn't be polite to such an idiot. With a stomp of his foot, he dashed toward Karma Heavenly Lord and raised his fist to punch Karma Heavenly Lord. This punch didn't look impressive at all. It felt a little light, as if it didn't have any strength. Isn't the strength of this punch a little too weak? There's no strength at all. I don't think he can even make Heavenly Paragon Karma retreat, let alone injure him. Hehe, that's probably it. Where's that arrogance from just now? He's cowering now. He's going to admit defeat later. Maybe he used up all his strength before. How could he still have any strength left? Let's watch Heavenly Paragon Karma beat him up and let them know the real gap between us. These were the words that they often said. They wanted to let their opponents know the gap between geniuses and mediocre people. Under their halo, the gap would only get bigger and bigger. They would never be able to catch up. Block it. The first elder and the others narrowed their eyes and shouted for Heavenly Paragon Karma to block it. However, there was no need for them to remind him. Heavenly Paragon Karma's eyes narrowed. Originally, he had said that he would give way. Now, he put his hand in front of his chest. His thick muscles were like an iron wall. At the same time, a faint yellow light enveloped his palm, making it look like a sturdy wall. Through the gap in his palm, Heavenly Paragon Karma saw Yi Tianyun's mocking smile. Dong! A loud explosion erupted from Empyrean Attainment Force's palm. His entire palm was sent flying away along with his massive body. Even the void was shattered by this punch, causing cracks to spread out in all directions. Heavenly Lord Karma immediately turned into a meteor and flew into the sky. However, in the next moment, the Grand Elder had already flown over, grabbed Heavenly Exalt Karma, and held him firmly in midair. Chapter 1454. Yi Tianyun's punch had almost pierced through Heavenly Venerate Karma. However, he had been merciful. Otherwise, Heavenly Venerate Karma would have been blown to smithereens. His current strength was no joke. The fusion of the Dragon God bloodline and the Phoenix bloodline had become an even more powerful bloodline. Just this bloodline alone was enough to unleash an astonishing amount of power. Apart from that, he also had other shocking bloodlines and the equipment he was wearing. When all of them were stacked together, he could suppress a lower Heavenly Venerate even without the crazy damage mode. In terms of strength, these guys were still too young, especially this idiot, who had allowed him to attack freely. If he had resisted with all his might, he might not have been killed in one punch. However, if he had not been prepared at all and allowed Yi Tianyun to attack, he would have been an idiot. Yi Tianyun had seen this kind of idiot before. They all thought that they were very powerful and looked down on their opponents. In the end, he had killed them in one move. This kind of person made Yi Tianyun feel relaxed. He did not need to waste any time. Next. Yi Tianyun gently raised his hand, indicating that they could arrange for the next one. The crowd was silent. Heavenly Venerate Karma, who they had high hopes for, had been killed in one move. Even if he tried to defend, he could not do so in time. He was easily killed by a single punch. Especially when he said next, it instantly caused them to feel as if they'd awoken from a dream and awakened from their shock. Despicable. You actually sneak attacked. Heavenly Venerate Karma was not prepared, and you already attacked. That's right, it was a sneak attack. Heavenly Venerate Karma was not prepared, and you already attacked. You are too despicable. Heavenly Venerate Karma was talking to you just now, and you actually sneak attacked. You are too shameless. All of them started cursing. They felt that Yi Tianyun had sneak attacked. Heavenly Venerate Karma was not prepared, and Yi Tianyun attacked. Even if it was a sneak attack, it was a sneak attack. Sneak attack. Yi Tianyun sneered. Just based on what you said, you still dare to call me a genius. You are simply pigs. Don't insult the word genius. You're not worthy. You're still talking about a sneak attack. He said he would let me punch once, so I directly punched him. You're still talking about a sneak attack. If you're not convinced, then come at me, you bunch of trash. Yi Tianyun looked at them coldly. Even a clay figurine would have a bit of anger. This group of people were just like those great elders, reneging on a bet after losing. The standards were raised again and again. It was truly disgusting. Everyone's expression changed. One by one, they shouted, "Who are you calling trash? Let's go. Who's afraid of who? You go. Me. Why don't you go? Didn't you say it was a sneak attack? Go up and fight him." They said they wanted to fight, but who really dared to go up? They sure knew how to talk, but when it came down to it, all of them cowered, not daring to step up. Their cultivations were at the level of a divine lord or the Lord of Heaven. They would only be cannon fodder if they went up. Hadn't the previous divine lords been abused enough? Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and the others laughed. They were even more disdainful of the geniuses of the heaven-cultivating god realm. These fools, their mouths are all impressive, but they don't have the ability. Sneak attacks. If they really had the ability, why would they be afraid of this little sneak attack? Little junior brother is amazing. He can defeat an Empyrean with one punch. If we were at the Divine Lord level, even if we could deal with him, it wouldn't be so easy. I can only say that Heavenly Venerable Karma is a little stupid. He thinks that little junior brother is an ordinary Divine Lord. Speaking of which, why is little junior brother so amazing? They are all Divine Lords, so why is the gap so big? Is it because Earth Monarch Zhu Lian is a little more powerful? Earth Monarch Zhu Lian, that's possible. But that's not right. Is he that amazing? Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and the others were all discussing. They felt that Yi Tianyun had really helped them vent their anger by beating up this group of fools. Enough. The competition is valid. Next. Great Elder growled, indicating for them to shut up and let the next Empyrean go up. Soon, a middle-stage low-level Empyrean came out. He carried a huge sword on his back. It looked very exaggerated. It was over a dozen meters long. Generally, it was extremely rare to use such a huge sword, mainly because it was not too convenient. And this huge sword was an Empyrean spirit treasure. The power that erupted out was absolutely shocking. Buzz. When this huge sword was pulled out, it vibrated slightly and gave off a buzzing sound. The vibrations caused the space to shake a little. There are some things that should be said and some things that shouldn't be said. Don't you know that? Heavenly Venerable Giant Sword held this huge sword tightly as if he was holding a wooden stick. His indifferent words turned into a wave of aura that swept over to Yi Tianyun. Instantly, Yi Tianyun's surroundings were shrouded by sword chi, and he became within the attack range. As long as the sword went down, it would definitely hit. This was his ability. Shouldn't this sentence be said by me? Yi Tianyun looked at him indifferently and said, "Oh, then I'll cut off your tongue. I wonder if you can still say it." Heavenly Venerable Giant Sword walked towards Yi Tianyun step by step, his eyes filled with killing intent. "Cut off my tongue?" Yi Tianyun sneered. "Then let's see if you can cut it off. Break." Heavenly Venerable Giant Sword suddenly slashed down with his sword. The surrounding sword chi suddenly surged up, turning into countless wind blades that swept towards Yi Tianyun. Every wind blade was extremely sharp and the speed was as fast as lightning, turning into faint white shadows that sliced over. Every wind blade just happened to be aimed at Yi Tianyun's mouth. When he said he would cut off his tongue, he meant it. At the same time, the huge sword in the air ruthlessly slashed down, still aiming at Yi Tianyun's area, wanting to lock him down from all direction. His attack was extremely ruthless. Even if this move didn't kill Yi Tianyun, he would definitely be cut into several pieces. In any case, as long as his soul wasn't destroyed, he definitely wouldn't die. However, he would be seriously injured, and it would take a long time for him to recover. Heavenly Venerable Giant Sword wasn't as careless as Heavenly Venerable Karma. His attack was extremely powerful, all for the sake of killing with one move. He didn't want to waste any time. Yi Tianyun's figure fluttered as he rapidly entered the void. The surrounding wind blades didn't affect him at all. As long as they didn't cut through space, they couldn't cause any harm to him. Power of the void. Everyone's eyes widened. This extremely rare ability actually appeared in the hands of a human. Heavenly Venerable Giant Sword's eyes narrowed as he rapidly locked onto the void that Yi Tianyun had just entered. His sword slashed down heavily as he roared, "Even if you hide in the void, it won't work. Get out here. Where are you slashing?" A ghostly voice came from behind him. Heavenly Venerable Giant Sword's heart turned cold. He wanted to quickly counterattack with his sword, but it was already too late. A heavy kick came down, sending him crashing into the ground like a meteor. His back caved in. Chapter 1455. Heavenly Venerate Giant Sword nearly fainted after being kicked by Yi Tianyun. His back had caved in and his organs felt like they were about to shift. Just as he was about to get up and continue his fight with Yi Tianyun, all of a sudden, a heavy force came crashing down on him again, kicking him so hard that his entire body was smashed to the ground. His entire face was stuck to the ground. Bang! The dull thud made him dizzy. He felt like he had really almost fainted, but he didn't. The main reason was that Yi Tianyun had shown mercy. He would not let Heavenly Lord Karma off so easily. Crack! Then, Heavenly Venerate Giant Sword felt a sharp pain in his arm. By the time he looked to the side, he discovered that Yi Tianyun's foot had already stepped on his shoulder, crushing his arm. He didn't stop there. He continued to stomp several times, breaking Empyrean Giant Sword's 4 limbs. The intense pain made Heavenly Venerate Giant Sword pale. However, he did not cry out in pain. This bit of pain was nothing. "You still have some backbone. I thought you were all delicate and didn't have any backbone at all." Although it looked like a simple snap, there was actually a surge of energy entering his body and wreaking havoc. The pain was far more painful than breaking a bone. Then, Yi Tianyun sent him flying with a kick, rolling out of the arena. At the same time, he said, "You want to cut off my tongue? Then I'll cut off all your limbs." Since Empyrean Giant Sword was so ruthless, then there was no need for him to be courteous. He crippled Empyrean Giant Sword's 4 limbs. Of course, these injuries weren't difficult to recover from. He just wanted to teach Empyrean Giant Sword a lesson. Empyrean Giant Sword was easily kicked back, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Even Empyrean Giant Sword was instantly killed. If Heavenly Venerate Karma was considered to be stupid, then Heavenly Venerate Giant Sword was using his full strength to kill Yi Tianyun. Now, he was instantly killed. Before anyone could understand what was going on, Heavenly Venerate Giant Sword had already been killed. Nothing had stopped. It could be said that the battle was over in a split second. The end of the battle was not important. The important thing was that they had lost. Lost. Only then did they realize something. They couldn't accept this fact. A Divine Lord had easily killed a mid-stage Heavenly Venerate powerhouse without the slightest ability to retaliate. Those with slightly higher cultivation were also deeply shocked. The power of the void. Hiding within the void, I can easily dodge the Giant Sword Empyrean's attack. Then, for some reason, he appeared behind the Giant Sword Empyrean. Entering the void is indeed more concealed, but isn't his speed a little too fast? "You're telling me you're a Divine Lord? If you say it's a late-stage Lesser Empyrean, or a middle-rank Empyrean, your father will believe it. Is he really a human? Is he really that talented?" I wonder how the great Devas managed to dig it out. They were all stunned. Whether they were middle heavenly venerates or upper heavenly venerates, even the sky celestials, they were all deeply shocked. They didn't know what to say in such a crazy situation. Was there really no way to stop his attack? If this continued, Yi Tianyun would be able to win 3 rounds in a row and win this round. More importantly, it was so easy. Who could stop him? Is this really a Divine Lord cultivation level? The faces of the first elder and the others twitched. They had the urge to check Yi Tianyun's cultivation level again. But they had checked before. 7th level Divine Lord. The truth was right in front of them. There was no way to hide it. Even a good concealment treasure would not be able to keep its effects after contact. Especially since they were all sky celestials. If he could even hide from a sky celestial, then Yi Tianyun had to be a sky celestial first. But they would never believe that Yi Tianyun was a sky celestial, because he was constantly releasing a divine lord aura. How could he be a sky celestial? Moreover, as a sky celestial, why would he play such tricks? Wasn't this too insulting to the status of a sky celestial? Last one. Yi Tianyun gestured for the last one to come up. As long as he defeated the last one, then everything would be over. At this moment, the first elder and the others had solemn expressions. They really had to be careful. If this continued, they would lose for sure. They couldn't possibly continue to compete with a middle-level heavenly venerables, right? If that was really the case, they wouldn't even want their face anymore. Although they were shameless enough now, if they changed, that would be too much. Alright, last round. The first elder came to the lower-level heavenly venerables side. He went up to one of the late-stage heavenly venerables and whispered something to him. The other party nodded and didn't say anything. Then, the lower-level heavenly venerables came up to the arena. They still looked very young. They were indeed the elites of the elites. They had all been specially nurtured and hadn't cultivated for too long. Therefore, they were all so young. This proved that their talent was indeed not bad. The power of the void, astonishing speed, explosive power. I really couldn't tell that this was the cultivation of a divine lord. Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua looked at him with a burning gaze and said, "But it's about time. Everything will end here. Do you all like to boast so much?" Yi Tianyun smiled faintly and said, "Each of you is better at boasting than the other. You don't have any ability at all. All you can do is boast. Whether I'm boasting or not, you'll know in a while." The corners of Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua's mouth curled up into a cold smile. This time, he didn't take the initiative to attack. Instead, he stretched out his hand and said, "Come, I'll let you take the initiative to attack. Let's see whether your speed is faster or mine." Yi Tianyun looked at him from head to toe and said with a smile, "Oh, you seem to be quite capable. Little junior brother, don't take the initiative to attack. This guy uses flames. Moreover, it's a relatively strong hellfire. Not only can it burn through the void, but it can also protect itself." Heavenly Venerate Sword Judge immediately saw through it and pointed out the problem. "Thank you, senior brother, for the reminder." Yi Tianyun turned to look at Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua and said with a smile, "It seems that you really have some skill. Why, don't you dare to come?" Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua provoked. "If you don't dare to come, then you're a coward. Where's that domineering aura from before? Was it all fake?" Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua used the lowest form of provocation to make Yi Tianyun angry and attack him so that Yi Tianyun would take the initiative to attack. Chapter 1456. Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua was taken aback by Yi Tianyun's words. Wasn't this implying that he was asking for a beating? He was immediately enraged, and he sneered. "I'm asking for a beating, right? Come on then. Hit my face if you have the ability. Let's see if you have the ability." He pointed at his face, indicating for Yi Tianyun to hit him. Then, he patted his face lightly and said with a despicable smile, "Come on, come and hit me. Idiot, fool, hit me this way." A heavenly venerate being so despicable made the people around him dumbfounded. Previously, Heavenly Venerate Giant Sword had said that he wanted to cut off Yi Tianyun's tongue, but the people around him didn't say anything. After all, it wasn't a big deal to say such things when he was enraged. Anyway, as long as he didn't kill Yi Tianyun, it wasn't against the rules. The elders turned a blind eye to the matter and did not say anything. Now, a heavenly venerate actually said such things. It was really despicable. Pa. Suddenly, a figure rushed over and slapped Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua hard, sending him flying. He rolled on the ground a few times and almost rolled out of the arena. His face was slapped high, and several of his teeth were knocked out. I've never seen such a despicable person. You actually want others to hit your face. I'll do as you wish. Yi Tianyun waved his hand and said indifferently, "I have to say that your skin is really thick. It's many times stronger than that dragon scale defense." Fast, it was really too fast. Most people didn't know what had happened, but Yi Tianyun had already sent Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua flying. Only those with higher cultivation and above Heavenly Venerates could see the speed at which Yi Tianyun rushed over. They were all shocked by this speed. It was really too fast, so fast that they couldn't believe it. Because this speed was already equivalent to their speed. The speed of a godlord was actually almost as fast as them. Even if it wasn't as fast, the difference wouldn't be too great. Under such circumstances, what was the point of fighting? Not to mention the power of an upper Empyrean. With the speed of an upper Empyrean, how could a lower Empyrean play? There were quite a few realms that he had to cross. Just its speed alone was enough to kill everything in an instant. After all, only speed was unbeatable in all the martial arts in the world. How did you get here? Celestial Venerable Yi Hua was shocked. He had already prepared himself, so how did he get sucked out in an instant? He couldn't react at all. You don't need to know how I got here. Didn't you want me to slap you just now? Now that I've done what you wanted, I've slapped you hard in the face, Yi Tianyun said indifferently. If it's not enough, how about I give you another slap? He controlled his strength very well and almost sent Celestial Venerable Yi Hua flying. It was just the right amount of strength. If he wanted to, that slap would have given him victory. As long as he sent Heavenly Venerate Hellfire flying, he would win. However, he didn't do that. It wasn't easy to deal with such a person. He had to play with him. Celestial Venerable Yi Hua was enraged. He quickly bounced up and glared at him. Again, try slapping me again if you can. Since you want to be cheap, no problem. Yi Tianyun rushed over, and an afterimage appeared in midair. The moment he rushed over, Celestial Venerable Yi Hua clapped his hands. Terrifying hellfire swept out in all directions, forming an extreme wall of fire that rose high into the sky. Everything that came into contact with it immediately turned into nothingness. He locked himself in almost all directions to protect his position. At the same time, he clapped his hands, and countless fire dragons whizzed in all directions, smashing down on the area where Yi Tianyun was pouncing over. Boom, boom, boom. Countless fire dragons smashed down continuously. The floor of the hall shook, but it wasn't damaged. The restrictions here had been reinforced. It was very difficult for Celestial Venerable Yi Hua to destroy them. Unless a sky god attacked fiercely, it would take a long time to destroy them. Die, die. Celestial Venerable Yi Hua's eyes were red. Even if Yi Tianyun died, it had nothing to do with him, and he wouldn't be punished. After all, based on the current situation, it could only be considered an explosive mistake. He couldn't not use his full strength, right? Once he used his full strength, the result would be hard to say. The Great Elder had already said that fists and feet had no eyes. There would be times when one would miss. What he was playing now was miss. Who do you want to die? A ghostly voice came from behind Celestial Venerable Yi Hua, which made his heart go cold. The next moment, he quickly turned around and waved his hand, sweeping the flames over. But how could his speed compare to Yi Tianyun's? Pa! A heavy slap landed on his face once again, sending him flying out. He didn't roll out of the arena after this slap. Instead, he rolled a few times on the ground before quickly bouncing up with his hands on his face. His face was swollen. Previously, it was on the left side, but now it was on the right. Both sides were swollen, making him look like a big fatty. But no one could laugh at this scene. They only felt that it was extremely strange. Celestial Venerable Yi Hua had clearly built a wall of fire, and if he wanted to enter, he would have to pass through it. As for entering the void, it was useless. This level of Yi Hua could even burn the void, which meant that hiding inside was useless. But now, Yi Tianyun didn't leave any traces. He easily arrived beside Celestial Venerable Yi Hua and gave him a vicious slap. This slap didn't have much lethality. It was just a simple slap to the face. But this already proved many things. If Yi Tianyun wanted to defeat him, he could do it in an instant. But he hadn't done so. Instead, he was playing around with Celestial Venerable Yi Hua and slapping his face. I've already slapped you once. Do you want another slap? Yi Tianyun walked over step by step, his palm swaying slightly. He was ready to slap him again at any time. Celestial Venerable Yi Hua was like a kitten whose tail had been stepped on. He quickly bounced up from the ground and stared at Yi Tianyun as if he had seen a ghost. How did you get behind me? Did you pass through the void? With your speed, do you think I need to pass through the void? Yi Tianyun mocked. The other Grand Elders and the others fell silent. They had all seen what had happened in that instant. Yi Tianyun's speed was too fast. He had appeared behind Celestial Venerable Yi Hua at an astonishing speed. To put it bluntly, Yi Tianyun had already appeared behind Celestial Venerable Yi Hua the moment he used his flames. What was the use of just using flames? Chapter 1457. Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua was destined to lose, and he would lose completely. He wouldn't even have a chance to resist. Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua wanted to surrender. If this continued, he would only continue to be humiliated. He might as well surrender. He already knew how big the gap between him and Yi Tianyun was. It was like a chasm. He couldn't even see Yi Tianyun's figure. How could he fight? He was very confident in his attacks. However, no matter how confident he was, it was meaningless if he couldn't hit Yi Tianyun. I surrender, slap. Yi Tianyun rushed over and slapped him, sending Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua flying. He rolled a few times and lost a few teeth. Didn't you want me to slap you? Try slapping me again. Yi Tianyun interrupted him with a slap. He knew that Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua wanted to surrender, but he wasn't willing. How could he stop if he didn't slap him a few more times? These fellows had such a cheap mouth. He wouldn't know where he was wrong if he didn't slap him a few more times. Surrender, surrender. I'll give you another slap. Slap. Yi Tianyun slapped him again. Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua rolled a few times and lay flat on the ground. Does it feel good? I'll continue to slap you. Let's see how thick your skin is. Yi Tianyun wanted to rush over and slap him again. Enough. At this time, a wave of air came from the side and pushed him to the side. He only stopped after taking a few steps back. Yi Tianyun looked up and saw that the one who had attacked was naturally the Grand Elder. He finally couldn't help but shout for a stop. If this went on, it would be really embarrassing for everyone to see Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua's face swollen. It was already embarrassing enough now. It would be even more embarrassing when the time came. It was basically a one-sided suppression now. There was no way for him to turn the tables. The elders were all discerning people and could see the gap. Especially from the speed, they knew that Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua would definitely lose. They thought that Yi Tianyun's speed was already his limit. Who knew that he could increase it again? The result of this situation was that Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua was easily abused. Now they didn't even need Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua to surrender. Was Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua? But the truth was in front of them. They could only admit that the great Davis's disciple was stronger. Surrender. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. This means that we won. Won. Yes, you won. No matter how tough the great elder's neck was, he could only nod and admit defeat. Yi Hua Yi Venerate didn't want to lose. To venerate Yi Tian venerate Yi God venerate Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and the rest were incomparably excited. They finally won and weren't defeated by these shameless people. Tian heavers them to well. A heavenlid to Yi Hua venerate. Well. As they Yi Lord. Yi Tian vend to say anything. Well. Venerable as well as venerate as Heavenly Ven a Tian Vende venerate. At the same time, they were terrified. Thinking about it, Yi Tianyun was already so heaven-defying as a divine lord. What if he broke through to Heavenly Venerate? Wouldn't he be able to sweep away Heavenly Venerate level powerhouses? How did this guy cultivate? How can a divine lord have such power? That's right. Did he cheat? But how did he cheat? So many people were watching. If he cheated, they would have seen through it long ago. Anyway, I can't see that he cheated. That speed can't be considered cheating. His speed is too shocking. As long as he's fast enough, he can win. That's right. He's not that strong. He's even weaker than Heavenly Venerate Yi Hua. But his speed is too fast. I can't see it clearly. That's too shameless. If we were comparing strength, we definitely wouldn't have loss. This guy has a huge advantage. He won by relying on speed. Yi Tianyun won, But there were still people who didn't recognize his strength. They thought that he won by relying on speed. If he didn't rely on speed and only relied on normal strength, he definitely wouldn't have been able to win. You bunch of idiots. You're telling us that your genius is winner takes all. No matter what method you use, as long as you can win, you're the winner. Saying that our little junior brother only relies on speed. If you have the ability, come and compete with a speed powerhouse. What a joke. If you had a speed powerhouse come and win against our little junior brother, you would definitely be fine. Heavenly Venerate Swordlord immediately started scolding. Among the many senior brothers, his mouth was the fiercest. But thinking about it, he specialized in collecting information. This meant that he definitely had different thoughts. However, such a loud scolding in the main hall had really made them sick to their stomachs. Everyone's face turned ugly. Some of them immediately started retorting. It's obvious that he's just a little faster. If he's sealed in this area, can speed still be effective? We're not convinced. That's right. We're not convinced. If you have the ability, fight fair and square. Don't play tricks. If we send a defense-type powerhouse, no matter how fast you are, you won't be able to win without strength. Each and every one of them hooted even more fiercely, feeling like they turned into bickering mode all of a sudden, starting scolding each other. The numerous elders exchanged a glance. But head elder among them did not shout for them to stop, letting them shout freely. This meant that this head elder similarly felt that it was not too fair. Just as Heavenly Venerate Swordlord and the rest were about to continue scolding back, Yi Qianyun stepped forward at this time and said indifferently, "Since that's the case, then I'll give a 1-for-1 free. You guys send another person up and use your way to compete." His eyes were filled with rage, feeling that this group of guys was really enough. They still wanted a yard after taking an inch, clearly relying on the fact that there were more people over there, feeling unconvinced. If you're not convinced, then I'll beat them until they're convinced. Cough, cough, fourth elder, this is what your disciple said. I didn't force him. Since that's the case, in order to make everyone convinced, continue to send a powerhouse up. How about it? Head elder smiled slightly and said, the final outcome will be decided by this. Thick-skinned probably could not even describe these guys anymore. When Yi Qianyun saw these guys, he was simply disgusted to the point of exploding. Let him join this heaven cultivation god realm, but he was too lazy to even join. No wonder the great Devas chose to leave in the end. Meeting this group of guys, how could he want to stay here? If my disciple is willing, then there's no problem. The great Devas did not say anything and chose to agree with Yi Qianyun's words. Since Yi Qianyun felt that there was no problem, then there was no problem. Qianyun, give them a good beating, don't be courteous with master. At this time, the great Devas transmitted his voice to Yi Qianyun. Chapter 1458. Relax, even if master didn't say, I wouldn't let them off easily. I'll mercilessly shut their mouths and make them have nothing to say. Yi Qianyun's gaze was icy-cold. Want to scam him? See if he had that ability or not. Going back on their words time and time again, it was really disgusting enough. He knew that this group of people was protecting their own position and did not want their interests to suffer. Once they admitted defeat, it was basically equivalent to the Great Devas winning. At that time, according to the promise, the Great Devas would be able to grasp most of the killing power. How to allocate at that time, that would be the Great Devas' business. How could this group of people tolerate this kind of thing? Especially all along, they had always looked down on those people with mediocre talent. The moment they thought that a lot of resources would be allocated to that side, they felt extremely disgusted. Hence, they could only choose to go back on their words and roar shamelessly, so that they could continue to have another chance to be able to suppress Yi Qianyun. Immediately, Head Elder immediately picked another late-stage Empyrean powerhouse. He did not dare to pick a middle-level Empyrean. That way, it would be too shameless. Originally, a divine lord dealing with an Empyrean would make people feel like a joke. If it became dealing with a middle-level Empyrean, it would really be shameless. Oh, I was wondering what kind of trump card it was. Turns out that it's an Empyrean who specializes in the wind attribute, and also has all kinds of speed enhancements. In terms of power, It's somewhat inferior to Empyrean Hellfire. But in terms of speed, it can be taken a look. Yi Tianyun sized up Empyrean Sharpwind, who walked up and down, and immediately knew what kind of ability the main character they sent up was. They saw that flame power could not be suppressed, so they brought out Empyreans with similar abilities to compete in speed. See whose speed was faster and could suppress the other party with faster power. Your speed is very good, indeed very astonishing. It's just a pity that you ran into me. I'll let you know what's called true speed. The moment Empyrean Sharpwind came up, he did not make too many fancy moves. He immediately released the Empyrean Spirit Treasure on his body white wings, and quickly equipped it on his back. This kind of Empyrean Spirit Treasure with speed was not unseen. Yi Tianyun saw it before. Generally speaking, it was the right choice to make full use of one's advantages. With a show sound, Empyrean Sharpwind turned into a white light that swept towards Yi Tianyun. It was as if he was a wind blade, and this wind blade was him. The gigantic wind blade was like a crescent moon in the night sky, slashing towards Yi Tianyun. Seeing such a frightening speed, a group of people began to cry out in surprise. In their opinion, this speed was definitely a notch higher than Yi Tianyun's. The great elder clenched his fists tightly. He hoped to win this time. Heavenly Venerable Sharpwind wasn't as strong as Heavenly Venerable Yi Hua, but if he gave it his all, his speed would definitely surpass Yi Tianyun. Now that Empyrean Sharpwind had just stepped onto the stage, he immediately chose to activate all of his strength, converting all of it into speed as he attacked Yi Tianyun. What was required wasn't that one's strength had reached the pinnacle, but that one's speed had to be at the pinnacle. It had to be so fast that even a middle-level Heavenly Venerable wouldn't be able to keep up. This was the ability he was proud of. Unfortunately, the first representative wasn't him. Because he only had speed. The Great Elder and the others thought that they needed extremely violent power to prove their strength. Who knew that he would be beaten up by Yi Tianyun? Now, it was his turn to show off his speed. He strove to use his strongest speed to instantly kill Yi Tianyun in front of him. While everyone was cheering, little did they know that this place had already fallen into a vicious circle. Even if they won, it wouldn't be glorious at all. After all, they were facing a divine lord, not an Empyrean. Erupting with such valiant power, even if they defeated Yi Tianyun in the end, it wouldn't be something to be proud of. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes as he looked at Empyrean Sharpwind, who was pouncing over. He had to admit that Empyrean Sharpwind's speed when he erupted with all of his strength was really quite astonishing. Just this speed alone could already crush many middle-level Empyreans. However, it was just speed. In terms of power, it was a little weak. When dealing with some true powerhouses, even if he hit the opponent, it would be difficult to be fatal, and it was impossible to be seriously injured. Speed. It's just that I won't compete in speed. If I want to compete, I'll compete in power. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed, and his fist instantly condensed the power of the planet in his body. The 5 elements core instantly surged with surging energy, surging towards his fist, and cyclones intertwined. The dragon and phoenix bloodlines directly exploded and completely integrated into his fist. The evil Lord of Heaven set was also fully activated, and its power was raised to the peak. Among them, it also erupted with the strongest power of the fusion martial arts, heaven-killing divine art, void-piercing. Explode. Yi Tianyun's fist didn't smash anywhere, but chose to smash the void in front of him. Under this fierce blow, the violent power seemed to smash into a transparent wall. Dong, dong, dong. Suddenly, the void immediately collapsed, turning into a chaotic space that shattered in all directions. Heavenly Venerate Sharpwind, who had pounced forward, collided with this violent power. Under the rebound of the power, he directly raised his head and spat out blood. A large part of his body was crushed, turned into a pile of powder, and was quickly annihilated. Immediately after, a small half of his body fell from the sky to the side, smashing heavily on the ground. His flesh was a bloody mess, and it was quite terrifying. Everyone's eyes widened. What they saw was not Yi Tianyun's body, but Heavenly Venerate Sharpwind's body. Now, Heavenly Venerate Sharpwind's body had been smashed into pieces, and it looked quite cruel. No matter what speed, under this punch from Yi Tianyun, it was directly smashed. An extremely shocking range locked down everything in the surroundings. The speed of his punch was not fast, but the power that erupted from it locked down the entire range, and there was no way to avoid it. A true genius will not find excuses for his own failure. A loss is a loss, not a refusal to admit it. It's not that I don't have the power, but your abilities are not worthy of me using my full strength, Yi Tianyun said coldly. If you can't defeat your opponent, don't find excuses to comfort yourself. It will only show your incompetence. Yi Tianyun took 2 steps forward extremely domineeringly, simply using the power of his fist to prove that he was not powerless. What speed! What unbreakable speed! In front of him, it was all empty. Under one punch, everything was destroyed. Good. Heavenly Venerate Sword Judge started applauding, agreeing with Yi Tianyun's words very much. Heavenly Venerate Force and the others all laughed, agreeing with Yi Tianyun's words. A loss is a loss, don't find excuses for your loss. Now, Yi Tianyun's punch once again proved that he did not rely on speed to win, but that his opponent did not even have the qualifications to make him erupt. Chapter 1459. Great Elder, I don't know what else you have to say this time. The great Devas looked at the great elder indifferently and looked at the genius disciples on the side. Now Yi Tianyun broke out with amazing strength, not relying on speed, but relying on his own fists. It completely proves that Yi Tianyun not only has speed, but also amazing strength. In the case where speed can easily win, it means that the opponent is too weak. Yi Tianyun now proves this point. He didn't use any speed, he just punched Feng Rui Heavenly Master. The violent power covered all directions, there is no place can escape his attack, and he easily killed Feng Rui Heavenly Master. No! The great elder said bitterly, this time he knows that he really lost. What else can they say? If they continue to say, it means that the middle-level Heavenly Master will come on stage. But the more it is like this, the more they lose face. Because Yi Tianyun's cultivation is only Divine Monarch, a Divine Monarch to fight against an Heavenly Master is already very exaggerated, let alone a middle-level Heavenly Master. The other geniuses also remained silent, only the shock in their eyes, but more of it is unwillingness. In the end, the great Devas won. It means that most of the power is in the hands of the great Devas. Well, this time the competition is won by the 4th elder. At this time, the Shotian Domain Lord announced that the great Devas won this competition and fulfilled his original promise. Finally won, Yi Tianyun breathed a sigh of relief, although he doesn't mind continuing to fight. If he continues to fight like this, he will naturally expose more of his strength. If he can, he will definitely stop now. Successfully completed the hidden quest, helped the great Devas defeat the genius, gained 3000 compressed crazy point, 3000 compressed proficiency, and obtained the special title First Cut Edge. First Cut Edge, increase your damage by 10 times in the divine domain, another special title. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up, this effect is very good, and can also be stacked. This meant that if he stayed in the god realm of the 3 realms, on top of his original foundation, his damage would be increased by 10 times. It was truly heaven-defying. While he was feeling pleasantly surprised, Shotian Region Lord's voice came from above, the vow of 10,000 years has come to an end. According to the original rules, the next Region Master would be the 4th Elder. Now, his authority had been elevated to the rank of Great Elder. The elders of the original rank will be demoted by 1 rank. Yi Tianyun was taken aback. No wonder the 1st elder and the 2nd elder were so against it, and were willing to go back on their words. So it was this kind of reward. It was really tempting. The great Devas suddenly rose from the position of 4th elder to the position of Great Elder. This would allow him to immediately become the person with the most authority under the Region Master, and he would also be the next Region Master. With all these conditions added together, how could the Great Elder not go crazy? But now, the Great Elder couldn't go against it no matter what. Not only had Shotian Domain Lord spoken, but the great Devas had proved with his own strength that his theory was correct. He had brought a group of powerhouses who couldn't be considered geniuses over and ruthlessly crushed them. Little did they know that Yi Tianyun was considered to have become a monk halfway through his training. It couldn't be said that the great Devas had personally taught him. But the great Devas didn't care about these things. As long as he could win, then everything would be worth it. Thank you, Region Master. The great Devas half knelt and accepted these conferments, allowing him to successfully ascend to the top. The Region Empress was extremely excited. She was naturally very happy that her son could succeed. This matter soon came to an end. Even though those geniuses were unwilling, this was an oath that couldn't be violated. Yi Tianyun and the others were arranged to wait in the VIP room and couldn't wander around. They were the great Devas' disciples, but they couldn't wander around the Shotian God realm. Thus, they could only stay here and wait for news. Little junior brother, come, let me toast you. Celestial Venerable Yu Qian raised his wine cup very heroically and downed it in one gulp. If not for little junior brother, we would have lost for sure. Master definitely wouldn't have had the chance to be the Grand Elder and would have been demoted even lower. That's right. Little junior brother, let me toast you too. Celestial Venerable Sword Sai and the others all toasted Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun smiled and drank with them. He was similarly quite happy. He finally ruthlessly abused those guys. But fortunately, he wanted to abuse the other two god realms more. When they were almost done drinking, Celestial Venerable Sword Sai suddenly asked, Little junior brother, if Master lets you join the Shotian god realm, will you be willing to join? I'm not willing. Yi Tianyun shook his head and said, although I can intimidate them this time and make them choose to obey, it can't be changed in a short time. I don't want to stay in this damn place. I can only hope that Master can manage it well and change the atmosphere here. That's right. We also think the same and refuse to join here no matter what. Look at their faces, it's simply disgusting. No wonder Master would run out and want to change the Shotian god realm. If this continues, the Shotian god realm will be finished sooner or later. Celestial Venerable Sword Sai was extremely displeased. Geniuses are in the minority. Always ignoring those with average talent won't last long. Right now, the resentment is extremely deep. As it accumulates more and more, there will eventually be a time when it explodes. Celestial Venerable Li and the others shook their heads. They were really unwilling to stay in this kind of place. Their goal was surprisingly the same. They were unwilling to join the Shotian god realm. I think Master definitely won't let us join. Even if he becomes the Grand Elder now, he won't let us join. Yi Tianyun drank a mouthful of wine and smiled. How do you know this? Celestial Venerable Sword Sai said in puzzlement, Master definitely can't leave this place. It's equivalent to returning. Could it be that he's going to let us stay outside? I'm not sure about that. It should be like this for now. Yi Tianyun said with a smile. When they were chatting enthusiastically, the great Devas walked in from outside and said with a smile, You guys are all drinking here. What are you talking about? Why are you so happy? All of them shut up, too embarrassed to say what they were discussing. Nothing much. We were talking about whether or not Master will let us join the Shotian god realm. Yi Tianyun asked simply and rudely. The mouthful of wine in Celestial Venerable Sword Sai's mouth directly sprayed onto Celestial Venerable Dragoncry's face. He did not expect that Yi Tianyun would be so bold to say it out. These words were too straightforward. It almost made them spit it out. Haha, that won't happen. You guys are the first batch of disciples of the vast divine sect. How can you possibly join the Shotian god realm? The vast divine sect is the vast divine sect. It won't become the Shotian god realm, the great Devas said solemnly. Moreover, this place hasn't settled down yet. It's far from time to really let you guys join. This place still needs a long time to reorganize. Chapter 1460. This battle was finally over. After the great Devas took office, he didn't immediately make any major changes to the situation. However, the situation would definitely change. The talent test would no longer be defined by that lousy stone tablet. At the same time, the treatment of the disciples with average talent would be greatly enhanced, so that they would have the opportunity to climb up. They would have the opportunity to obtain everything that geniuses could obtain. After these announcements were made, the entire cultivation god realm was in an uproar. Many disciples who were already in despair suddenly felt hope and felt that they had the hope of turning things around. At the same time, when they learned the details of the inside story, they were deeply shocked. All of this was fought for by Vast Empyrean God. Vast Empyrean God was the fourth elder back then. He made a promise that he would make the heavenly cultivation God domain fair. Even disciples with average talent couldn't be given up. This action immediately made the great Davis's prestige explode. The support for him was unprecedentedly high. It could be said that even the cultivation God Realm Lord didn't have as high a prestige as the great Davis. There were so many disciples in the cultivation God realm. At least 70% to 80% of them had average or lower level talent. Did such an extreme situation have nothing to do with the cultivation God Realm Lord? Therefore, the great Davis's prestige reached the peak. Many people even discussed that the great Davis could quickly take office as the domain lord and let him change everything. However, the great Davis wasn't a real god. Although he was a heaven god, he wasn't the omnipotent type. Many things still needed to be done step by step. There was no way to reach the sky in a single step. If he made drastic changes immediately, the geniuses here would definitely cause a backlash. What he needed to do was to balance both sides. These things were enough to keep him busy for a while. As for Yi Tianyun and the others, they chose to leave the cultivation god realm and return to the vast god sect. The vast god sect still had many things to be busy with, so they were handed over to them to manage. Since the great Devas had returned to the cultivation god realm, the vast god sect naturally had to be handed over to them to manage. However, this had nothing to do with Yi Tianyun. He wasn't good at managing these things, so he naturally had nothing to do. It's about time. It's time to go back. Yi Tianyun planned on returning to the divine realm of the three realms. There was no point in staying here any longer. He had already done what he needed to do. All that was left was to properly attack his cultivation and break through to the Empyrean realm. He had already met the requirements to break through to the Empyrean realm, so all he needed to do was accumulate experience and everything would be fine. Just as he was about to leave, rays of golden light suddenly burst forth from the area in front of him, spreading in all directions and illuminating a large area of the god realm. The golden light looked extremely dazzling. Even the myriad realm's divine realm was affected by it. Looking up at the sky, it was all golden and dazzling. It was rather exaggerated. He didn't know what kind of power could reach such a level. What is this? Yi Tianyun was startled. He raised his eyes and looked up, but the appraisal eye could not detect anything. This proved that there was nothing inside. It was just a very simple diffusion of energy. Naturally, there was no way to detect anything. At this time, Empyrean Sword Ruler and the others came over. When they saw the scene in front of them, they immediately sighed. It's probably some heavenly god ruins that appeared. That's why there is such an effect. This is the ruins of an ancient heavenly god. The treasures inside must be very tempting. Ancient heavenly god? Yi Tianyun was stunned. Yeah, they are heavenly gods from a long time ago. Usually, they are called ancient heavenly gods. The resources of these ancient heavenly gods are extremely shocking, including the ancient heavenly venerables. However, those that can survive are basically unseen. If they survive for that long, their strength is very heaven-defying. If it's an ancient upper heavenly venerable, they can probably fight head-on with the current heavenly gods. It's quite terrifying. Empyrean Sword Ruler and the others had heard of it, but they didn't know what the actual situation was. There's such a saying. This was the first time Yi Tianyun heard of such an existence. Yes, they are considered a very early batch of experts. Their bloodlines are very ancient, so they are naturally incomparably powerful. After so long, our bloodlines have become extremely thin. How can we compare to them? Empyrean Sword Ruler shook his head. Some rare bloodlines would gradually disappear with the passage of time. And some that still remained were already extremely thin. As they continued to reproduce, with different races, or with the same race, their bloodlines would become thinner and thinner. In the end, it was because their strength was not heaven-defying enough, and their bloodlines were not stable enough. As a result, their strength became weaker and weaker. It was the same kind of bloodline, but the difference in power was like heaven and earth. Yi Tianyun had a deep understanding of this. The grade of his bloodline was equivalent to the ancient bloodline. For example, the ancient dragon god bloodline was equivalent to the 7th or 8th grade. The current dragon god bloodline was only equivalent to the 2nd or 3rd grade. The effect was naturally like heaven and earth. Ancient heavenly god ruins. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. What he needed now was a lot of resources. If he could obtain the resources of a heavenly god, it could accelerate the overall strength of the Three Realms god realm. Especially with such a rich heavenly god ruins, it was definitely a world of difference from the current heavenly gods. However, if he killed a current heavenly god, he would also obtain extremely rich resources. It was just that with his current strength, he could not do that. Little junior brother, are you interested? Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and the others could see that Yi Tianyun was ready to make a move. I'm a little interested, and I want to go take a look. Yi Tianyun did not hide it. He indeed wanted to go and investigate. Then what are you waiting for? Let's go together. Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai laughed loudly and signaled Heavenly Venerable Li and the others to go together. This. Yi Tianyun looked at them. Let alone Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai, even Heavenly Venerable Li and the others were already eager to test his strength. Don't worry, we don't need to manage this place. As for whether or not someone will invade, I believe that no one will dare to mess around. Master will let the experts of the Heaven Cultivation God Realm attack, and any faction will be flattened. Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai patted his shoulder and said excitedly, moreover, this is the ruins of an ancient heavenly god. Of course, it could also be the ruins of an ancient heavenly venerable. We can only see it once in a very long time. Oh, isn't it said to be an ancient heavenly god? Yi Tianyun was startled. Hihi, how would I dare to say that? I'm just casually guessing. It's very likely to be an ancient heavenly venerable. Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai spread his hands. Alright, then let's go now, lest it get snatched away. Yi Tianyun nodded. It was naturally a good thing to move together with them. Chapter 1461. The 5 disciples of the vast divine sect moved out as soon as they said they would. After making some arrangements, they could set off. This was an extremely rare opportunity. They couldn't miss it. Unless their cultivation was too low, they would set off. This was an ancient ruin. There were so many treasures and they could train. How could they miss it? The best way to close the gap between those with ordinary talent and those with amazing talent was to constantly train. Only in this way could they close the gap. If they obtained treasures, they would soar to the sky. So sometimes, talent was just one part. Opportunities could improve themselves. I hope it's an ancient heavenly god ruin. Yi Tianyun hoped that he would encounter a heavenly god ruin and not an Empyrean ruin. After all, heavenly god ruin was a higher level and had more resources. So, Yi Tianyun hoped to encounter a heavenly god ruin. The 5 of them quickly went to the area that emitted light. They passed through one god domain after another and finally arrived at the god domain that emitted golden light. This god domain was actually one of the god domains that had been destroyed in the Battle of God Domains. It was normal for it to appear here. It should be said that it would only appear in such a damaged god domain. Normal god domains wouldn't have such a situation. How could there be light that attracted others? I didn't expect it to be here. Yi Tianyun looked around. Many cultivators flew over. Whether they were itinerant cultivators or powerhouses from certain factions, they would all send people over. Every time something like this happened, there would be a bunch of people coming out. Because they knew that every time a ruin appeared, there would definitely be good things. Moreover, they would be of a very good level. It seems like this place has been destroyed, but there are still many intact ruins. Some are hidden in some rocks, and some are protected by spatial turbulence. Now that they burst out, it must be because the seal is broken. Empyrean Sword Ruler knew the most about this. Although Empyrean Force and the others had high cultivation, they didn't know as much as Empyrean Sword Ruler. It was mainly because Empyrean Sword Ruler liked to inquire about all kinds of information, unlike Empyrean Force and the others who only cultivated. I just don't know if this ruin is a heavenly god ruin or an Empyrean ruin. No matter what it is, the competition is not small. The Heaven Cultivation God Domain will probably send people over, Empyrean Sword Ruler guessed. Yi Tianyun nodded. With so many factions coming, the Heaven Cultivation God Domain definitely wouldn't miss this opportunity. Among the 4th grade God Domains, the Heaven Cultivation God Domain was considered very strong, but no matter how strong it was, it still needed resources. Especially since they had more geniuses and needed more resources. They definitely couldn't miss out on these ancient ruins, especially after they came out. The danger would be greatly reduced. According to the original situation, even if he knew that there were many treasures here and that there might be some ruins sealed somewhere, he would not be able to find them. However, no one dared to casually come looking for him, not even Empyrean gods. The higher one cultivation, the more one feared death. If one died, there would be heaven, their cultivation. Soon after, they quickly flew forward. After flying for some distance, they finally saw the true appearance of the ruins. It was no different from an ordinary hall. The divine halls of powerhouses were more or less similar. They would either have a few more statues or a few more lines of words. That was the general scale of the divine halls. Some were special, but the one in front of them wasn't special. It was a high-rank Empyrean spirit treasure. A towering palace stood there, golden light spreading in all directions, looking very dazzling. Without a doubt, the owner of this spirit treasure was metal type. Otherwise, it wouldn't emit such a dazzling golden light. At the same time, it was confirmed that this ruin was an ancient Empyrean ruin and not a heavenly god ruin. It's a pity that it's an Empyrean ruin. Empyrean Sword Ruler sighed, then smiled, but it doesn't matter. The danger will be reduced a lot. If it's an ancient heavenly god ruin, we have to be more cautious. Otherwise, we'll die without a whole corpse. Yi Tianyun agreed with this. The higher the level of the ruin, the more dangerous it was. Especially an ancient heavenly god ruin. There might be many heavenly gods coming to snatch it. The difficulty could be imagined. Senior brother Sword Ruler really knows how to comfort himself, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. Saying it was a heavenly god ruin was more dangerous, but they also wanted it to be a heavenly god ruin. If they wanted better treasures, they had to be of a higher level. Cough cough, sometimes comfort yourself and know how to be content. Empyrean Sword Ruler said with a smile. Moreover, are the things of an ancient Empyrean not good? There must be many good things. There might even be treasures that can help us break through to heavenly god. That's right, but the difficulty might be a little high. Yi Tianyun looked around and saw a bunch of celestial venerables piled up in a row on the side. Some came alone, and some came in groups. Among them, there was no lack of god lords who came to try their luck, especially some god lords who couldn't break through to Empyrean level. Even if they died, they would come to try their luck. Of course, every time an ancient ruin like this appears, there will be a big fight. There are many casualties. Empyrean Sword Ruler narrowed his eyes and looked around. His gaze finally gathered on the palace in front. Now, we can't enter the palace for the time being. The seal outside hasn't dispersed yet. It shouldn't be a problem to break it by force. But they are staring at each other. I reckon no one is willing to do that. They are all waiting for the seal to break by itself. Many experts were waiting in the surroundings. They didn't rush in immediately because this ancient ruin had a seal. If they wanted to break it, they would need to spend a lot of effort. But they didn't want to do it alone. After all, if they did it and others didn't, wouldn't they be at a disadvantage? The instant the seal was broken, others might take the opportunity to sneak in. At that time, they would really be making a wedding dress for others, and it would be a loss. Moreover, the seal had already become very weak. If they continued for a few more days, this seal would break by itself. At that time, it would be equivalent to the door opening, allowing them to rush in. Looks like we also have to wait outside. Yi Tianyun and the other 4 were waiting by the side. They similarly didn't want to be the first bird to stand out. They didn't want to work for nothing. Unless the seal could only be broken in a few decades, the cultivators here wouldn't make a move. While they were waiting, there was a steady stream of cultivators rushing over. Yi Tianyun saw that no heavenly gods appeared. Clearly, heavenly gods didn't fancy this kind of resource. Chapter 1462. As time passed, more and more cultivators came over. Their gazes all stared closely at this ancient ruins, waiting for the ancient ruins to open. With the passing of time, this seal became fainter and fainter, feeling like it was going to shatter at any time. Once it shattered, everyone would rush up right away. Almost there, just a bit more and the seal will be broken. Just a bit more. I must get a lot of treasures inside. Heh, too naive. Don't you see so many cultivators here? Wanting to obtain treasures isn't easy. Who cares? Who knows, maybe by casually walking around inside, there'll be treasures dropping in front of me. That's really possible. There was an Empyrean like this before. When others were constantly snatching treasures, he was just strolling around in other places. Suddenly, a treasure dropped down and was picked up by him. Furthermore, it was pretty good. Yeah, so luck is very important. Ruins. This thing is rather unstable. In the past, when its owner was alive, there weren't any problems. Once it collapses, it's easy for all kinds of problems to occur. Everyone was discussing this matter, all hoping that their luck would be a bit better. This way, they did not need to compete with others and could obtain treasures. But this was all just beautiful imagination. Whether they could obtain such wonderful luck, that would really depend on their own luck. Luck, huh? Yi Tianyun smiled slightly. Comparing luck, who could compare to him? It was undeniable that some cultivators' luck was rather heaven-defying, but under his luck halo, who could compare? His luck was not bad to begin with. Adding on 100 times luck, wouldn't treasures drop down while walking? Thinking about the situation in the outer divine regions, one would know how important luck was. Directly making the token appear above was like forcefully pulling it over. Yeah, luck is very important. Due to a long time, these ruins became very unstable. Sometimes, a moment of carelessness, you'll enter a special treasure space and casually plunder those treasures. Empyrean Sword Sai explained with a smile. At the same time, there's also a possibility of entering a dangerous space with a moment of carelessness, causing yourself to die without an intact corpse. Hence, it's still better to be careful. Yi Tianyun nodded his head. He was still aware of this point. These ruins would appear because they themselves became unstable, leading to this kind of situation. During the initial battle, the shockwaves from the battle would cause damage to these seals. Over time, if it wasn't repaired, it would split open and reappear in the world. Correspondingly, the restrictions inside were all damaged. Once it was damaged, there would be a mistake. This was just like the teleportation formation. Even if it was slightly damaged, it could still be used. However, whether or not it could be sent to the correct destination was another matter. Those who were unlucky would be sent directly into the danger zone, unable to return. Soon. At that moment, everyone saw the barrier rapidly disappearing. It felt as though it would break at any moment. The group of people's nerves were taut. They all wanted to rush in as fast as possible and plunder the treasures inside. It would be easier for the first batch to find treasures, but correspondingly, it would be more dangerous. The further they went, the more danger they would encounter. However, this was the only way to obtain the treasures first. It was much safer to come later, but it really depended on luck. Otherwise, not to mention treasures, even a strand of hair would be taken away. All of a sudden, hundreds and thousands of cultivators stopped discussing anything else. They held their breaths and stared at the ruins. Crack! At that moment, cracks began to appear on the barrier above. Following that, they became bigger and bigger. In the end, the entire barrier was covered in cracks and looked like it would collapse at any moment. At that moment, everyone's hearts were in their throats. However, the barrier didn't break. If it didn't break, then they could only continue waiting. It looked very fragile, but it was the most dangerous moment. Once it was broken, a large amount of energy might surge out from inside and attack them ruthlessly. This situation wasn't rare. The main reason was that the aura in the ruins was chaotic. When it dissipated, it was equivalent to the attack of an expert. If they were hit, even if they didn't die, at least they wouldn't be able to explore anymore. It's almost time. At that moment, Yi Tianyun, who had his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. A bright light shot out from his eyes, and the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. It's indeed almost time. This seal is about to break. At most, it can last for a few more days. At that time, it will definitely break. Heavenly Lord Sword Ruler thought that this was what Yi Tianyun meant. That's not what I meant. Senior brothers and senior sisters, grab me. Yi Tianyun gestured for them to grab his arms or shoulders. Grab you? They felt a little puzzled, but they still reached out to grab Yi Tianyun, not knowing what he meant. Following that, their figures flashed, and the 5 of them disappeared into thin air. Everything happened so stealthily. Some cultivators at the side looked over in confusion. When they saw that it was empty, they thought that it was an illusion. Were there 5 people there just now? What 5 people there? Don't look over. Even if they die, it has nothing to do with us. Hurry up and look over here. Don't look elsewhere. Yes, no one cared about the disappearance of Yi Tianyun and the others. Anyway, it was a good thing for them that someone had left. At the same time, Yi Tianyun brought them to a corner of the ruins. This place was extremely remote, and the surroundings were incomparably dilapidated. There was a spatial turbulence in front of them, wreaking havoc at the side. This is inside the ruins. The 4 of them were stunned. They didn't know what was going on, and they were already inside the ruins. Wasn't there a barrier outside? Yes, this is the inside of the ruins. Yi Tianyun looked around. Finally, he could come in ahead of time. Previously, his spiritual sense couldn't penetrate inside, so it was naturally impossible for him to teleport in. When the barrier broke a little, his spiritual sense could finally come in. Then, he quickly found a very safe area and teleported them in. Now, they were the first batch of cultivators to come in. Moreover, they had plenty of time to explore this place. Correspondingly, they were the first batch to encounter the dangerous area. However, this wasn't the main point for them. The main point was that they had come in ahead of time, which made them feel that it was unbelievable. How did we come in? Isn't there a barrier? Sword Lord Heavenly Venerable and the others were stunned. This is one of my abilities, similar to the power of the void. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, now that we have come in ahead of time, let's see where we can start exploring. Chapter 1463. Yi Tianyun had been waiting for this opportunity. Being able to enter a day or a few hours earlier was a great opportunity. It might be dangerous, but all the treasures here belonged to them. No one could enter. The space here is very chaotic. It's indeed a little difficult to deal with, especially if one's power can't be released and is suppressed here. It's very easy to get hurt. Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others looked around. There was a chaotic aura raging in the surroundings. Once the barrier exploded, it would spread out in all directions like a flood. It would be safer then. It was rather dangerous now. One could be seriously injured or even die here if they weren't careful. Yi Tianyun could tell a lot with just a glance. There were several spatial tiers in front. If one was sucked in, they would be trapped in the shattered space even if they didn't die. It would take a lot of effort to get out. They might even die directly and get torn apart by the chaotic space. These were the aftereffects of the battle. While the violent power was wreaking havoc, it affected the space and made it very dangerous. Fortunately, not all areas were very dangerous. There were still many places that were relatively safer. Let's split into 2 groups. This is the safest and fastest way. Heavenly Venerate Li suggested after looking around. Little junior brother and I will be in one group. The 3 of you will be in one group. Little junior brother's overall strength is very strong and he can use void power. He will be in a group with me. The 3 of you will be in one group. It will be easier to take care of each other. All right. They didn't waste any time and nodded in agreement to this suggestion. Actually, they all felt that this was a good idea. Yi Tianyun could also use his void power here and escape at the critical moment. He was basically on the same level as Heavenly Venerate Li. As for the 3 of them, it would be safer. Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian could bring the 2 of them together. This was a very reasonable arrangement. If they moved together, It would be a waste of an opportunity. They wanted to take advantage of the fact that the others couldn't enter so that they could plunder more things in a short period of time. If they didn't split up, they wouldn't be able to plunder as many things. In that case, they might as well wait for the barrier to shatter and enter when it was safer. Immediately after, they split into 2 groups and flew in different directions at a moderate speed. They didn't dare to go too fast. If they encountered any danger, they would be dead for sure. Yi Tianyun and Li Tian Heavenly Venerate chose another path and entered the passage. There was still a lot of spatial turbulence around them, and there was also a dangerous aura around them. This is just an ancient Heavenly Venerate ruin. Why is it so dangerous? Yi Tianyun looked at the space turbulence in front of him. If it was the Heavenly God's ruin, wouldn't it be even more exaggerated? This is the difference between ancient Empyreans. Long ago, resources were abundant, not as scarce as they are now. The things they obtained were simply too good. Just looking at these ruins, they far surpass our upper-level Empyrean spirit treasures. They're not just a single level stronger. They're a bit like Empyrean and Empyrean God treasures, Empyrean Force explained. Yi Tianyun nodded. He also saw this point. If it was not for the rich resources, there would not be so many cultivators so crazy about it. Let's go. Li Tian Heavenly Venerate snorted and immediately flew towards the spatial turbulence. Li Tian Heavenly Venerate activated his Strength God bloodline and punched at the spatial turbulence, turning the spatial turbulence into nothingness. In some cases, they couldn't break through the turbulence. They could only dodge to the side to avoid being sucked in. Heavenly Venerate Li was strong, but they had to be careful when facing these things. After dodging for a while, they finally arrived at the side of a spacious hall. As soon as they entered, they heard an ear-piercing voice. Invaders! Die! Die! A giant eagle and a giant bear stood on 2 tall platforms. As soon as they entered, the soil on their bodies trembled, and they pounced toward Yi Tianyun. Each of them was a middle-level Heavenly Venerate statue. Their ferocious strength made them feel a sense of danger. Just the middle-level Heavenly Venerate statue alone gave them the feeling of an upper-level Heavenly Venerate. This was the effect of the ancient era. The materials used to make them were all top-notch. How could they be weak? It's a puppet statue, and its grade is not low either. Heavenly Venerate Li snorted. Finish it quickly. Don't hold back. I'll hold them off. You take the chance to sneak attack them. Mighty God bloodline, all out. Heavenly Venerate Li used his strongest move. His fists swelled up, turning into huge fists that smashed toward the statues without hesitation. He did not hold back at all. He would be an idiot to hide his strength at a time like this. He had to kill them as quickly as possible and earn the treasures. As for running away and not fighting, that was impossible. If they wanted to enter this hall, they had to defeat these statues. Otherwise, the door would not open. This hall was like that. There was only one door, and there were 2 statues guarding it. Boom, boom, boom. Heavenly Venerate Mighty Heavenly Venerate's fists rained down on the statues in a frenzy. Even the mighty statues were rapidly forced back by his punches. At this moment, a cold light flashed out from the void. A spear directly pierced through the head of the giant eagle, causing it to explode like it was a piece of tofu. Break. Yi Tianyun walked out of the void. He used the void to sneak attack from the side and easily killed one of the statues. Ding. Successfully killed puppet statue giant eagle. Obtained 100 compressed EXP, 100 compressed crazy point, 100 compressed sin point. At the same time, obtained eternal gold, ancient material, illusory sand, ancient material. There was no reward for killing a statue, and there was no reward for killing a statue, but he got some good ancient material. It was obvious that these were statues, which was why there wasn't much EXP or reward for killing someone of a higher level. However, the ancient material made his eyes light up. After the giant eagle statue was killed, it immediately turned into a pile of mud and fell to the ground. Now that he killed them, he got some ancient material, which was a pleasant surprise. Interesting. I need to collect more materials. I want to refine a Heavenly Venerate spirit treasure. Chapter 1464. After killing the eagle, Yi Qianyun quickly went to kill the bear. With one less, it would be much easier to deal with them. In particular, Heavenly Lord Li's violent power was suppressing his opponent, forcing him to retreat step by step, unable to fight back at all. However, the other party was a puppet, so it didn't know pain and continued to resist. However, under the ferocious attacks, cracks continuously appeared on its body, and it looked as if it would shatter at any moment. Break. Yi Qianyun flew over from the side and pierced its head with his spear, easily finishing it off. Successfully killed puppet statue giant bear. Reward: 100 compressed EXP, 100 compressed crazy point, 100 compressed SPS obtained Eternium. The rewards didn't change. It was still the same materials and the familiar experience points. It was pitifully little. Easily taken care of. Little junior brother, your attack is really domineering. Even such a hard head can be pierced by your spear. Truly amazing. Even Heavenly Paragon Li felt that he was inferior. His fists were very strong, but if he wanted to smash his opponent's head with a single punch, it was still far from enough. I focused all my strength on one point, especially its weak point, which is its head. That's why I was able to pierce through it easily. The main thing is that eldest senior brother was able to help me control it. Otherwise, it would not have been so easy to deal with it. Yi Qianyun wasn't fawning over the Heavenly Lord's strength at all. It was precisely because of the Heavenly Lord's strength, Heavenly Lord's ferocious beating, that he was able to take it so easily. Otherwise, he would have had to put in more effort. Sure enough, teamwork was much easier. Yi Qianyun's contribution was naturally not small. He had completely mobilized the core energies of the 5 elements in his body and gathered them all together, thus achieving the effect of easily piercing through. These statues were also included. They were a little old, and the great formations on them had deteriorated a little. Their might was far from what it used to be. Haha, as long as you're capable, Celestial Force laughed. Come, let's continue. Yi Qianyun and Mighty Sky Heavenly Master rushed forward. After killing the 2 statues, the door opened. After entering, they immediately saw rows of rooms on both sides. They randomly opened a door and entered, and they could see a lot of pills and weapons inside. This is also a treasure vault. It seems like we've struck it rich. Heavenly Venerate Force's eyes lit up, and he quickly said, let's split up and search. If something happens, retreat immediately. Don't be greedy. Yes. Yi Qianyun nodded his head and immediately went to search the other rooms. There were some pills, some weapons, and some materials. There weren't many of them, and they were scattered on the side. This place couldn't be considered a treasure trove. When the Divine Realm War began, most of the treasures were definitely on their bodies. Some of them weren't with them, thus some of them were left behind. But to them, it was a treasure trove. These were all ancient-grade materials and pills, so how could they not be precious? Yi Qianyun didn't stand on ceremony and took everything. In terms of weapons, they weren't heaven-defying. They were still at the superior-grade Heavenly Dao level. However, in terms of power, it far exceeded the current high-grade Heavenly Dao level. From the appraisal eye, there was even the word primordial behind it. Of course, this did not mean that they were all ancient items. They were definitely extraordinary items, and there were still trash items. After a period of searching, everything here was emptied, and the rest was just some garbage. This place has been cleared out. Let's change to another place. After Heavenly Venerate Force and Yi Qianyun gathered, they continued to explore other places. They basically searched non-stop. However, after searching a few places, the entire area was completely searched. This area is gone. Let's continue searching elsewhere. They quickly continued to search other places. There were also statues standing in other places. With their teamwork, they easily defeated them. The main reason was that their teamwork was getting better, so it was naturally easier. Following that, they continued to search, but the treasures they obtained were extremely few. It should be said that there were very few true treasures. Most of them were scattered items, and they didn't encounter a true treasure trove. This area has been cleared out. There's basically no more space left. Let's go back, Heavenly Venerate Force said. As the main roads outside had been sealed off by spatial turbulence, It was basically impossible to pass through. Therefore, there were many areas that couldn't be collected. The true treasures were clearly in the deeper areas. When they returned to their original starting point, Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others didn't return. They didn't foolishly wait here. Instead, they immediately went to the area that Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others had gone to. After all, there were so many unknown areas here. Who knew if they would encounter any danger? Immediately, they went to the area that Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others were in. Along the way, they saw many guards being killed. The battle was also quite tiring. Not long after, they heard the sounds of intense fighting coming from inside. Waves of energy were constantly flowing through the passageway in front of them. There's a situation. Yi Tianyun and Heavenly Venerate Force exchanged a glance and quickly rushed forward. After passing through a passageway, they saw a human-sized statue that was roughly 1.7 meters tall. However, it was precisely this small statue that blocked the three of them outside. This statue was simply like a living person. Its attacks were very agile, and it constantly used amazing martial arts to force them back again and again. If Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian hadn't resisted many attacks, Heavenly Venerate Sword Sai and the others would have been in danger. The situation now wasn't optimistic either. Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian could barely fight this statue to a standstill. It would be a little difficult to defeat it. Yi Tianyun scanned it with his appraisal eye, and detailed information immediately appeared in front of him. Sword Guard, middle stage upper Heavenly Venerate. Has domineering sword skills that can easily kill intruders. Its body contains the owner's bloodline power, which greatly increases its power. After inspecting it, Yi Tianyun knew why it was so difficult to deal with. It turned out that this statue contained the owner's bloodline power. This way, it could use all kinds of martial arts that greatly exceeded the level of the previous statues. Just this alone was enough to stop them here. Help! Heavenly Venerate Force Sky didn't hesitate and immediately attacked, suppressing the Sword Guard with Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian. Junior sister, let me help you. Heavenly Venerate Force Sky shouted and quickly went to help. Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian didn't say a word. Her figure flashed, and she stood beside Heavenly Venerate Force Sky, suppressing the Sword Guard together. The two of them seemed to have cooperated countless times, and they were very familiar with each other. In an instant, the Sword Guard's attacks were greatly weakened. Chapter 1465. Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and Heavenly Venerate's cooperation was perfect. It was obvious that they had worked together frequently in the past. Hence, it was much easier for them to deal with their enemies now. With every move, the Sword Edge Guard was forced to retreat again and again. Heavenly Venerate Mighty, Heavenly Venerate's violence, and Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian's gentleness. These were two completely different abilities, yet they were able to perfectly fuse together. They were able to take on all kinds of attacks. Senior brother Li Tian and senior sister Yu Qian's teamwork is amazing. They are suppressing this fellow to the point where he is unable to resist at all. If this goes on, the guard will definitely be defeated. Heavenly Lord Sword Ruler retreated, looking extremely wretched. He hurriedly consumed medicinal pills to recover from his injuries. Overall, they were still fine. It was mainly because Heavenly Venerable Yu Qian was the main combat force that he was able to sustain light injuries. The main reason was that the energy consumption was too crazy. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any problems. Heavenly Venerate Long Ming's situation was much better. His body was tougher to begin with, and his recovery ability wasn't bad, so his situation was naturally much better. Just when they thought that they could easily defeat the enemy, the long sword in the hands of the Sword Edge Guard suddenly burst forth with a dazzling light. Immediately, a sword light that was more than 100 feet tall appeared and crazily danced. The crazily dancing sword gleams were able to form an extreme sword formation. At the same time, countless long swords appeared in the surroundings and attacked the area they were in. Even Yi Tianyun and the others were included in the attack range. This guy is going crazy. Hide quickly. When Heavenly Venerable Gen Sai and the rest saw the long sword, they immediately knew that this fellow was going to risk his life and activate the Grand Array to fight against the enemy. The expressions of Heavenly Sovereign Yu Qian and the others changed. These sword formations were not simple, especially since they were gathering ancient-level weapons. Their might was rather shocking. Even though it was only at the high-grade Heavenly Dao level, it was not the least bit inferior to an Empyrean Spirit Treasure level spirit sword. If a few hundred of them were to explode, it would really be fatal. Swish, swish, swish. One by one, flying swords pierced through the air, trying to destroy the intruders. They could only quickly block the flying swords that pierced through them. Dang, dang, dang. Yi Qianyun quickly brandished the long spear in his hand, deflecting these flying swords away. Every time a flying sword attacked him, he could feel the web between his thumb and forefinger turning numb. The impact was too strong. He had to use a lot of power to resist it. He almost exploded with damage mode. This power was simply too powerful. Every strike had the might of a mid-stage or even late-stage upper Heavenly Venerate. How could they not be suppressed? This was just a puppet. If the real master came out, wouldn't he be able to easily suppress them? This was the truth. The ancient Heavenly Sovereign was no joke. He could easily crush them. Not only were Yi Qianyun and the others pushed back, but even Heavenly Sovereign Yu Qian and the others were pushed back, unable to advance any further. With so many flying swords piercing through him, how could he easily dodge them, especially when each one of them was so powerful? In the blink of an eye, the two Empyreans in the lead had several more wounds on their bodies that were so deep that bones could be seen. This flying sword was so sharp that even Heavenly Venerate power and the others were easily torn apart. He's really too powerful. Yi Qianyun felt that even if he attacked with all his might, he wouldn't be able to deal with it easily. Even with the crazy damage mode, it was still difficult to catch up to this terrifying power. After all, it was just too powerful. He couldn't keep up with it even if he used it. Unless he improved his cultivation level, he might have a chance to kill it. But from the looks of it, even if he used all his experience points, he probably wouldn't be able to break through to the Heavenly Venerate level. At most, he would be able to break through to the 9th level Godlord level. Therefore, even if he used it now, he wouldn't be able to break through to the peak level. If he broke through to the peak level, coupled with the crazy damage mode, he might be able to fight with a mid-stage or late-stage upper Heavenly Venerate. The crazy damage mode wasn't invincible. The combat power of an upper Heavenly Venerate was extremely shocking. It wasn't something that could be easily surpassed. He might be able to easily deal with a mid-stage Heavenly Venerate, but he was still very powerless against an upper Heavenly Venerate. Retreat. Heavenly Sovereign Yu Qian and the others immediately retreated. However, they discovered that the passage behind them had been sealed. It hadn't been sealed when they came in, but they didn't expect to be sealed when they went out. This meant that they could only enter and not leave. They couldn't wait for more invaders to enter so that they wouldn't be able to leave. Invaders, you must die for trespassing on the Dragon Sovereign Shrine. The Sword Edge Guard started speaking in the human language, but his attacks didn't slow down at all. They were now in danger. If they wanted to rush over and kill the Sword Edge Guard, they would have to pay a huge price. Damn it, these flying swords are too powerful. If we get close, I'm afraid we will be severely injured. They frowned. They already had a lot of injuries on their bodies. If this continued, their injuries would definitely become more serious. We can only fight with our lives on the line. They immediately decided to join forces and fight. If they didn't, they would all die here. Just as they were about to fight with their lives on the line, a green light suddenly shrouded them and healed their injuries rapidly. In the blink of an eye, most of their injuries were healed. The crazy healing power crushed everything. Senior brothers and senior sisters, let me help you. Yi Qianyun quickly released the Voodoo Wood Divine Set, which doubled their healing power and helped them resist the increasing injuries. Okay. Their eyes lit up as they felt their injuries rapidly recovering. They could fight with their lives on the line now. Kill. The two of them looked at each other and quickly rushed toward the Sword Edge Guard. Their crazy power completely exploded, and they were much stronger than before. This time, they were going all out to suppress the Sword Edge Guard, so the effect was naturally much stronger. Suppress. The two of them roared and joined hands to display a martial art. It was a relatively rare joint martial art. After joining forces, Their power increased greatly. Then, they fiercely suppressed the Sword Edge Guard. At the same time, the Sword Edge Guard also fought with their lives on the line. Many flying swords flew over, constantly injuring Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others. However, they were not afraid at all. With Yi Tianyun's recovery power, they didn't need to worry too much about their injuries. They just had to fight with their lives on the line. Die. The two of them heavily attacked. The combined compressed energy sent the Sword Edge Guard flying. It hit the wall and turned into a pile of powder. It was completely dead. Under the suppression of the two of them, they finally killed the Sword Edge Guard. At the same time, the two of them were also badly injured. They either lost a large piece of their body or an arm. Chapter 1466. Ding. Successfully killed Sword Guard. Reward, 500 compressed EXP, 500 compressed Crazy Point, 500 compressed SPS. Obtained Dragon Bloodline, Rare, Eternal Gold, Mirage Sand, Dragon Temple Structure Diagram, Rare. After the Sword Guard was killed, Yi Tianyun successfully obtained the reward. Although he didn't touch the Sword Guard, he healed Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others, so he can get the corresponding reward. After seeing the reward, Yi Tianyun's eyes suddenly lit up. These are all good things. Not only can he get amazing bloodline power, but he can also get the Dragon Temple Structure Diagram. Bloodline power and Dragon Temple Structure Diagram. Yi Tianyun immediately checked the effect of the two things, and soon the detailed information of the two things appeared in front of him. Dragon Bloodline. After absorbing, you can obtain Dragon Bloodline power. Note, because Dragon and Phoenix Divine Veins are the same level, after absorbing, it will be converted into Dragon and Phoenix Divine Veins experience. Structure of the Dragon Revered Temple. A rough outline of the structure of the temple. After absorbing, can I strengthen Dragon and Phoenix Divine Veins? He didn't hesitate and immediately used the Dragon Bloodline. After absorbing, a voice sounded in his ears. Dragon and Phoenix Divine Veins upgraded to second level, effect increased. Strength increased to 200 times, speed increased to 200 times. Has the effect of rebirth, cooldown shortened to 5 years. At the same time, strengthen the Dragon and Phoenix Phantom, increase the suppression effect on the monster clan. After absorbing the Dragon Bloodline, it only upgraded by 1 level, but overall, it's still very good. If it's just a simple upgrade, it needs a lot of Crazy Point. It's a pleasant surprise that it can be used to upgrade. It can enhance a lot of power, not bad. Yi Tianyun nodded, but he originally planned to upgrade this bloodline so that he can strengthen his power. Even if there is a little gap in cultivation, he can still make up for it with the power of the bloodline. Then, he turned his attention to the map of the Dragon Sovereign Shrine. It did show a rough structure, but it didn't show what was inside, nor did it show any arrays or dangerous areas. It's a very simple explanation of how many rooms there are, where there are passages and so on. It's quite simple. However, it was already quite good to have this kind of structure. At the very least, he could know what the overall structure was like, which would allow him to take fewer detours. So this is the structure. Yi Tianyun felt that this thing was still very important. Once it was officially opened, he would be able to go straight to the most important area. There were no markings on where the treasures were, but the truly precious treasures were definitely in the deeper regions. Through this map, he could easily bypass them and reach his destination. Little junior brother, your healing powers are simply too strong. If it weren't for you, I would have been seriously injured. Heavenly Premier Force and the others came over to praise Yi Tianyun. This is all I can do. Yi Tianyun smiled. Being able to help was already a good thing. He was just afraid of standing there like an idiot. That's more than enough. Otherwise, if we were to fight them head-on, we would probably lose our battle power before we could even hit them. Heavenly Paragon Force's expression was solemn. This was no joke. With so many flying swords flying towards him, there was no way he could dodge them easily. No matter what, he would be hit many times. When that happened, he might even lose his battle power. Therefore, Yi Tianyun's help was decisive for them. There's no need to say too much. Let's go and see if there are any treasures. The guards here are so strong. There should be many treasures inside, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. Yes, let's go and search for treasures. They immediately became spirited. With such strong guards, there must be some important treasures inside. Otherwise, why would they send such strong guards? They couldn't be too weak inside. Immediately after, they quickly rushed inside. After entering the passageway, what came into view was not a special room, but a pool. Faint golden spring water constantly gushed out from inside and filled the pool. Other than that, there were many golden spirit herbs beside the pool. They looked very dazzling and golden. This is golden bellflower, that is golden moongrass. They are all very rare spirit herbs. After seeing them, their eyes lit up. They were all relatively rare spirit herbs. However, what they paid more attention to was the pool in front of them. These spirit herbs all grew beside the pool. There was no doubt that they were relying on the liquid in the pool to help them grow. This should be the golden spirit pool. Legend has it that there is dense metal energy constantly gushing out. If we absorb it, we can greatly strengthen our physiques. If we have a metal attribute constitution, the effect will be even more shocking. It's a pity that our constitutions aren't metal attribute. However, it doesn't hinder us from absorbing it. It can strengthen our physiques. Heavenly Paragon Sword Sai was very knowledgeable. He immediately recognized what this thing was and was pleasantly surprised. Golden Spirit Pool. There is a golden pool eye underground. It can continuously absorb the surrounding energy and transform it into metal spirit liquid for absorption. After absorbing, it can greatly strengthen one's physique. However, as one's cultivation increases, the effect will decrease. If one has a metal attribute constitution, the effect will increase by 3 times. It's indeed a good thing. I just don't know how effective it is. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. It was definitely a good thing to strengthen one's physique. Especially if it was not limited to metal attribute constitutions. Needless to say, as long as it was alive, it could be absorbed. This meant that everyone present could go down and absorb it. Then why wait for us? Let's go down and absorb it together. If we wait for the door to open, we definitely won't be able to slowly absorb it. Or rather, we don't want to stay here to absorb it. Yi Tianyun smiled and jumped down. That's right. Let's quickly go down and absorb it. We definitely can't waste it. Absorb as much as we can. Heavenly Paragon Sword Sai and the others entered the water one after another. As soon as they entered the water, they used all their strength to absorb it. Their bodies immediately turned golden, looking like they were leaning towards metal attribute. In reality, it didn't change the attributes of their bodies. It only strengthened their physiques. After entering the water, Yi Tianyun also crazily absorbed it. However, his constitution was different. His constitution could accommodate any attribute. This meant that he could transform into any attribute at will. It could be said that he could transform into a metal attribute constitution, increasing the effect to the greatest. Buzz. Chapter 1467. The whirlpool around Yi Tianyun was the largest. It was a size larger than the others, and the absorption speed was much faster. In the blink of an eye, a large portion of the golden energy around him was drained by him, and it gradually returned to the state of ordinary water. Originally, this golden pool came from the golden pool eye below. After absorbing the energy within, it would naturally return to the color of ordinary water. Yi Tianyun's absorption speed was not only amazing, but the key was that the effect was even more amazing. It was 3 times as much as the others. As a result, his body began to strengthen rapidly. His body was covered with layers of thin golden leaves, and he really looked like a golden man. The effect is okay. Yi Tianyun felt that the effect was okay, but it was definitely not of a very high level. It could only be considered average. His physique was too strong. After so many bloodline enhancements, the effect of this golden liquid was naturally quite reduced. Fortunately, there was a 3 times increase. Otherwise, the effect would really be negligible. As for the other heavenly venerables, the effect was also relatively limited, but it was better than nothing. For their cultivation base, it was extremely difficult to increase a little. Unless their physique was relatively weak, the effect was relatively average. To them, it was a very good effect to be able to increase a little. Anyway, this was not theirs. Even if it could only increase a little, it was already a good effect. Immediately after, Yi Qianyun continued to absorb crazily. The surrounding whirlpools became stronger and stronger. Gradually, the golden liquid of this golden god pool began to be rapidly absorbed. If this continued, all the energy of this golden god pool would be absorbed completely. Not too much time passed. In the short span of a day, this amazing golden god pool was sucked dry just like that. There was not a bit of golden liquid left. What was left was a pool of ordinary water. Gone. Yi Qianyun opened his eyes. The golden color on his body gradually faded, and he returned to his original color. The situation did not seem to be a big problem. The key was that the energy in his body had been slightly strengthened. The other heavenly venerables opened their eyes one after another, all with a look of longing. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. They naturally felt that they would not think it was too little. Little junior brother, you're absorbing too quickly. You're much faster than us. I reckon that more than half of the golden divinity pool's energy was absorbed by you. Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai laughed. It's all right. Yi Qianyun scratched his head in embarrassment. He did absorb the energy the fastest and fiercest. Hurry up and dig up the golden lake eye below. When the time comes, let junior brother take it back and choose a place in his own force, then set it up. When the time comes, it will also form a golden divine pool. As a place to nurture disciples, it's pretty good. It can definitely nurture even stronger geniuses. Celestial Venerable Sword Sai suggested from the side, signaling Yi Qianyun to go down and dig it up. This thing was not a one-time thing. As long as one dug it out and buried it in a good place, it would be the same as this place after some time. This is a little embarrassing. Yi Qianyun looked at the golden pool eye at the bottom of the pool. It indeed looked like a huge eye buried in the bottom of the pool. Those who did not know much about it did look rather horrifying. It was like a huge eye looking at them from the bottom of the pool. How could they not feel horrified? According to the level of the treasure, this was at least a celestial venerable level treasure. Its grade was naturally not too low. What's there to be embarrassed about? If little junior brother hadn't brought us in first, we definitely wouldn't be fated with this place. Moreover, he could obtain so many treasures. Needless to say, I've never experienced such an easy way to obtain treasures. The entire ruin seems to belong to me. Celestial Venerable Sword Sai laughed. In the past, when they encountered a ruin, they would first kill their way in among groups of cultivators and then continuously rush forward, racing against time. It was so that they could snatch the treasures first. However, most of the treasures were snatched by others first, and they did not even get to drink the soup. It was different now. They could swagger in and pick any treasure they wanted. They did not have to worry about being snatched at all. The only thing they were worried about was encountering various traps or encountering guardians. That's right. Don't be polite with us. When we want to absorb it, we'll look for you. Celestial Venerable Force smiled knowingly at the side. All right, I won't be pretentious. Then I'll take it back first. When the time comes, senior brothers and senior sisters, and the disciples under me can look for me again if they need it. Yi Qianyun naturally would not be polite. This thing was quite good. It could speed up the cultivation of the disciples of the three realms. He would never think that he had too little of such things. Immediately, Yi Qianyun swam to the bottom and began to dig out the golden pool eye. As it was covered with a large array, it was slightly more difficult to dig it out. Fortunately, with the help of other senior brothers, it was soon easily dug out. After digging it out, he threw it into his inventory and swam up. It's about time. There's no way out here. Return to the outermost area and wait for the seal to break before continuing in, Celestial Venerable Force said. They nodded and flew to the passage outside to wait. The location they chose was the safest and most stable area. When the seal broke, the entire ruin would change. They did not wait long. Very soon, the barrier outside finally shattered into countless pieces with a cracking sound. Boom! As soon as the barrier broke, a terrifying wave of energy rushed out from the hall. Like a thick beam of light, it blasted towards the void outside. Some powerhouses did not dodge in time and were immediately affected by this beam of light. They were completely turned into nothingness. They did not even have the chance to scream before they died. They were far away, but the direction of the attack just happened to be aimed at them. They could only blame their bad luck. The situation inside the ruin also fluctuated wildly, wreaking havoc in all directions. Whether it was the ground or the walls, they were constantly bombarded with deep marks. The entire ruin shook violently, as if it was about to collapse. This was the result of the energy being compressed for too long. After the seal was broken, it poured out in torrents. It looked very exaggerated. Inside the passageway, they formed a thick shield to protect themselves. This wave of impact also spread over. Fortunately, the strongest force was outside the passage at the entrance. The other passages were weaker, and with their ability to withstand it, there was no problem. This wave of impact lasted for several hours before it finally stopped. Go. Chapter 1468. Yi Tianyun and the others quickly rushed towards the Dragon Sovereign Temple, and the rest of the cultivators who were rushing towards the Dragon Sovereign Temple were like a group of carps crossing the river. It's all mine. All the treasures are mine. Get lost. All the treasures are mine. A bunch of idiots. Your cultivation is so weak, yet you still want to snatch the treasures. Get lost. When they rushed in, they immediately started fighting each other madly for the sake of fighting for more treasures. Some of the stronger ones rushed in as fast as they could. After coming in, they looked at a random place and rushed in. So far, it was important not to cause any fights. There was no point in fighting without getting the treasures. But some people just bumped into each other and started fighting, not giving way to each other. Such idiots weren't rare, and there were quite a lot of them. Soon, everyone rushed into the other passages. After searching through the rooms, they were all dumbfounded. What's going on? There's nothing here. There's nothing here either. It's empty. What's going on? Why is there a pool here? Could it be some special pool? Damn it. It's just ordinary water. There's no effect at all, and it's a little disgusting to drink. After rushing in, they found that the room was empty. There wasn't even a single strand of hair left. As for the pool, there was no energy at all. It was just an ordinary pool. Everyone was disappointed. He thought he would find a lot of treasures, but in the end, it was all for naught. There was nothing. They felt that they had been tricked, thinking that there was nothing in the ruins. How could they even talk about treasure hunting? Most of the cultivators felt that they had been tricked after rushing in. Not to mention that they could get treasures, at least others could get treasures. Who knew that there was nothing here? At the same time, Yi Tianyun and the rest quickly went in. There were many intersecting entrances, like a maze. But this wasn't a problem for Yi Tianyun. He had the blueprint of the Dragon Sovereign Shrine, so he could go wherever he wanted. This way. Yi Tianyun signaled them to follow him as they ran deeper into the dragon-revered temple. The treasure was definitely in the deepest part of the temple, so it couldn't be in the outer regions. Heavenly Sovereign Li and the others didn't think too much about it. They all followed Yi Tianyun and rushed inside. As Yi Tianyun circled around, he finally arrived at the inner area. There were many passageways in this area, but they were all tightly locked. If one wanted to pass through, they would either have to destroy the door or break the restriction. The doors here are all locked. It's even more disgusting than meeting the guards. Heavenly Lord Sword Sai and the others frowned. If they encountered the guards, they could still fight, but if the gate was sealed, they would need to find a way to open it. There are quite a number of open passageways here. Why don't we look over there? Heavenly Venerate Dragon Cry suggested. It's hard to say from there. If we go in from here, we can reach the innermost part. When Yi Tianyun sensed everyone's astonished gazes, he took out the blueprint of the Dragon Sovereign Shrine. It was something that could be taken out and was similar to a map. This is what I found before. Although it didn't mark anything, at least we know how to get to the innermost part. The real treasures should be in the innermost part. You don't have any objections, right? After spreading it out, they were shocked. They didn't expect Yi Tianyun to have such a thing. Indeed. I didn't expect junior brother to be able to find such a thing. No wonder you led the way for us. Heavenly Sovereign Sword Sai smiled in surprise. He didn't expect to find such a thing. However, they didn't suspect anything. After all, it couldn't have been drawn by Yi Tianyun himself, could it? The passageway on the side is probably the key to opening the door. Correspondingly, there might be danger. From this, I can see that the area is more complicated and there might be many guards. Sure enough, it's dangerous. Treasures aren't that easy to obtain. Yi Tianyun looked at the blueprint. There were many passageways on both sides, and it wasn't just one. There were a total of 3 doors in front of him, and there was a groove on them. This meant that something had to be embedded in them to open the door. Without a doubt, the danger inside wouldn't be low. The closer they got, the more dangerous it would be. There were so many guards outside, so how could there not be any inside? Looks like we have to look for the key again. How troublesome. Can't these ruins open all the doors? Heavenly Sovereign Sword Sai felt helpless. This was simply a trap. Don't you lock up your treasures? Heavenly Sovereign Dragon Cry retorted from the side. Heavenly Sovereign Sword Sai immediately stopped talking. Even in his territory, some treasures would be locked up, so it wouldn't be easy to find them. Actually, the most important thing is whether or not the key will be taken away. Yi Tianyun felt that this was the key. These grooves were all embedded with things. If the key was taken away, how could he continue? She could only stand outside and stare blankly. This is really possible, but we can only look for it now. Even if we can't enter, it would be good to plunder some treasures. Heavenly Sovereign Force said solemnly, as usual, we will split into 2 groups and go to different areas to search. If there is a problem, quickly escape, don't force it. No problem. Heavenly Sovereign Yu Qian nodded and immediately led Heavenly Sovereign Sword Sai and the others to one of the passageways. Yi Tianyun and Heavenly Sovereign Force also went to the other passageway. But when they rushed into the passageway, Yi Tianyun immediately felt himself pass through a wave of ripples, and then Heavenly Sovereign Force beside him disappear. It's an isolated space. Yi Tianyun quickly turned and walked back, but he found that it was already too late. He was completely separated from Heavenly Sovereign Force, and he couldn't touch him. This kind of restriction was relatively common, and some weak points could be broken. At least, the one in front of him couldn't be broken. It was an extremely profound restriction that required at least a 6th or 7th grade divine inscriber to break, and it would take a long time. Yi Tianyun's grade wasn't at that level, so he naturally couldn't break it easily. It was useless to walk back now. It was equivalent to entering a trap, so how could he get out? Unless he broke this trap, there was no way to get out. I didn't expect to be tricked, and no one knew. Yi Tianyun frowned. He couldn't see any problems from the outside, but he could only sense it after entering. He had to say that this Dragon Sovereign Temple had some skills. It seems that we can only take one step at a time and see what the situation is here. Yi Tianyun didn't panic. Before entering, he had already prepared for any accidents. Chapter 1469. After Yi Tianyun came in, he directly walked forward. He could only go forward. If he went back, he would have to take a detour. He wanted to see through the situation here, but he couldn't easily do so. His grade was a bit too low. Unless he raised his Divine Carving Master grade to the 6th or 7th grade level. After circling around, Yi Tianyun immediately felt a sense of crisis in front of him, causing him to frown. He feared that if he continued forward, he would encounter danger. He wasn't worried about a battle, but he was in the opponent's advantageous position. This wasn't something that could be solved easily. After thinking about it for a moment, he decided to raise his Divine Carving Master level. Raise Divine Carving Master grade. Ding, successfully deduct proficiency. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun for successfully raising the Divine Carving Master grade to 4th grade. Ding, successfully deduct proficiency. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun for successfully raising the Divine Carving Master grade to 7th grade. Yi Tianyun's proficiency had been completely used up. There was basically nothing left. Even his sin value had been ruthlessly thrown in. After the previous system upgrade, whether it was proficiency or sin value, they could be converted to each other. Under the conversion, He could barely raise the divine carving master grade to 7th grade. This required far too many proficiency points, it was simply exploding. Towards the end, he needed tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of proficiency points. It was simply a fraud. Even after accumulating so many proficiency points, it still wasn't enough to fill his teeth. He had to use up all of his sin value in order to raise it to 7th grade. "I've finally advanced to 7th grade, Yi Tianyun let out a deep breath. When he looked up, he was immediately stunned. He discovered that his soul strength had jumped to the Empyrean level. Moreover, it was at the middle Empyrean level. This leap was truly amazing. It had to be known that his soul strength was at most at the Divine Lord level before. But in the blink of an eye, it had risen to the middle Empyrean level. Without a doubt, soul strength was linked to the Divine Carving Master grade. The higher the grade, the higher the soul strength. This meant that if he continued to level up, the strength of his soul would increase along with it. This kind of leveling up was really too easy. It was as if it was free. I never thought that advancing to a divine inscription master would have such an effect. It's really beyond my expectations. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He felt that this was really unexpected, and it was far beyond his expectations. In the past, he didn't have such a strong feeling. But now that he had become a divine engraving master, his feeling had risen. His cultivation hadn't even broken through to the Empyrean realm, yet his soul strength had already risen to the Empyrean realm. This was really a little funny. Then let me see the true face of this place. Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered as he activated his third eye. A talent like the heavenly eye would improve along with the strength of one's soul. Basically, it was an exceptional divine skill. He didn't even need to cultivate it to be able to display greater strength. After releasing it, the surrounding divine seal patterns immediately appeared in front of him. Every detail was clearly displayed, including the trap formation in front of them. This was because after advancing his soul strength, he could easily use the third eye to investigate. If it were in the past, he wouldn't have been able to easily see through it. Even if he were blind, he still wouldn't have been able to see through it. If it were so easy to see through it, then it wouldn't have been an ancient Empyrean ruin. As long as it was an intruder, it would be killed without hesitation. These ruins were originally different from those ruins that were used to select legacy disciples. This was originally the territory of others. If a disciple didn't belong here, they would naturally be killed. Thus, if one went to the ruins to search for treasures, they would face the danger of death. So that's how it is. Its senior apprentice brother Li Tian. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. He saw that Empyrean Li Tian was being controlled by a large array formation. The surrounding array formations were wildly attacking him, leaving him no place to hide. It seemed that Empyrean Li Tian had been attacked for a long time. His body was already covered with cuts and bruises. It was unknown how many times he had been attacked. If this continued, Empyrean Li Tian would definitely be exhausted. This place was filled with attack arrays. All intruders would be separated, as if they had entered a different space. In such a situation, a fierce attack would not feel good no matter what. Damn it, I don't believe that I can't break it. Empyrean Li Tian roared. He swung his fists and punched the array formation in front of him. He punched out fiercely again and again, wanting to forcefully destroy this formation. Heavenly Venerate Mighty Sky didn't know any divine seals, nor did he know any grand arrays. He just relied on his brute strength to attack the grand array. If this continued, he would definitely be able to break the array formation. However, after he broke the array formation, there would be even more arrays waiting for him. This meant that if he continued, he would definitely be attacked repeatedly. It would be difficult for him to advance, and he might even die here. It had to be said that he had only just entered, and the dangers here were already exposed. This was much more dangerous than the outside world. Looks like I have to save him. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. He knew that Empyrean Li Tian could still hold on and break the array formation. However, that would be a waste of time. He would also be attacked continuously. It wasn't worth it. He had to end the battle quickly here. He definitely couldn't drag things out. His figure flickered and disappeared from the void. He entered the space where Empyrean Li Tian was. This situation was just like in the 10,000 Divine Pagoda. He could easily enter other spaces. However, the array formation here was much more sophisticated than the 10,000 Divine Pagoda. Therefore, he couldn't use the power of the void to enter from the beginning. It was like a locked door. The power of the void was like a key. Because the lock was too complicated, he couldn't open it. However, things were different now. After the advancement of the Divine Carver Master, he had become a more advanced master key that could penetrate the void. He easily entered the void where Empyrean Li Tian was and appeared next to him. He hurriedly said, "Big senior brother, grab me." Li Tian Heavenly Venerate turned his head and saw Yi Tianyun reaching out to him. Without hesitation, Li Tian Heavenly Venerate grabbed Yi Tianyun and dragged him into the void. After entering the void, he was brought into another space. Naturally, there were no arrays here, so Empyrean Li Tian could rest. "Little junior brother, it's really all thanks to you. Otherwise, I would have been severely injured if I had really broken through that formation." The heavenly paragon force wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead. This was just the beginning, and he was already in such a sorry state. "It seems like this area isn't safe. We can only gather and move together," Yi Tianyun said. Chapter 1470. Among the 5 of them, there was basically no one who had any achievements in the field of divine carving masters. The highest level was only at the 2nd or 3rd grade. 2nd or 3rd grade divine carving masters were useless here. Therefore, it was better to gather together and move. This was a bit of a waste of time, but moving steadily was the key. Heavenly Venerate Li agreed with Yi Tianyun. Who would have thought that things would be so complicated here? They could only look for them honestly. It was best to move together. Then, under Yi Tianyun's lead, they quickly chased after Heavenly Venerate Sword Sai and the others. As Yi Tianyun's ability had improved, it wasn't a problem for him to bring people out of here. After leaving here, they rushed to the other passage without stopping. The other passage was exactly the same as the one Yi Tianyun and the others had encountered before. It was also a strange array. Yi Tianyun had just come in and immediately saw Heavenly Venerate Sword Sai and the others being besieged. Heavenly Venerate Sword Sai was on the verge of death. Several parts of his body had been cut off, and one of his arms had been broken off. He was still constantly dodging, using his last bit of effort to avoid these attacks. It wasn't that Heavenly Venerate Sword Sai was too weak, but the array here was too abnormal. It was simply fatal. The main reason was that the territory was theirs. If there were too many arrays, the result would be the death of the invaders. Senior brother Sword Sai is in trouble. Yi Tianyun quickly passed through the void. Before Heavenly Venerate Sword Sai could react, he was dragged into the void by Yi Tianyun. Then, he used the Voodoo Wood Divine Set to quickly heal him. "Many, many thanks." After saying these words, Heavenly Venerate Sword Sai fainted in Heavenly Venerate Li's arms, which showed how serious the consumption was. As long as the soul in the head wasn't destroyed, he wouldn't die. However, the body was constantly injured, which would still have a great impact. "Senior brother Li Tian, wait here. I'll go save senior brother Dragon Cry." Yi Tianyun once again went to another space to save Heavenly Venerate Dragon Cry. Heavenly Venerate Dragon Cry's situation was much better. His recovery was amazing, and he could still persist under the fierce attacks. But if they continued like this, they wouldn't be able to pass through too many areas. Only Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian was able to make it to the next great array. Furthermore, it seemed like he was about to break it. It seemed like Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian was still much stronger. From this, it could be seen that this was a place that only upper Empyreans could survive. It would be difficult for other cultivators to survive here. Yi Tianyun was relying on his amazing divine inscription master skills to not be injured. Soon, Yi Tianyun dragged Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian back and started treating them. "I didn't expect that we wouldn't even be able to make it through here. It's just too difficult." One by one, they shook their heads and smiled bitterly. They had been to some ruins before, and the difficulty was either not as high as this one, or they had walked through ruins that others had explored before, so the danger was not as high. This was just the beginning, and they were already unable to attack. It was really embarrassing. It should be said that they were a little depressed. They thought that their strength was not bad, but when they came here, they realized that the gap between them was too big. They could not enter at all. Yi Tianyun also had a deep understanding of the situation here. That was, this place was just too formidable. The territory of an ancient empyrean really could not be compared to the present. Logically speaking, the further one went, the stronger it should be. He did not expect that an ancient-level great array would win, and a complete victory at that. No wonder so many powerhouses would come over when these ancient ruins opened. These things far surpassed the current level. For such a situation to occur, Yi Tianyun guessed that it was related to the materials. The current rare materials, compared to the previous world, could be found all over the streets. Thus, the great array formations or weapons that were refined far surpassed the current level. Because the materials for the current weapons and great array formations were insufficient, they could only choose to replace other materials to refine. This caused the effects to decline. It was not that the current level was inferior to the past, but that the materials were far inferior to the past. With the passage of time, it was normal for materials to become increasingly scarce. Wasn't the war that erupted in the divine realm in the past for the sake of seizing resources and materials? In the aspect of a divine inscription master, I still have some attainments. I shouldn't have any problems passing through here. Why don't you enter my inner world and wait until I need to fight, then I'll let you out. How about this? Yi Tianyun asked. Generally speaking, letting others enter one's inner world was quite dangerous. If there was internal damage, then the impact on him would be very serious. Similarly, if Yi Tianyun was attacked, then he would die together with them. No problem, it's decided. Without thinking too much, they chose to enter Yi Tianyun's inner world. They had all witnessed Yi Tianyun's ability just now. If it weren't for Yi Tianyun's help, they would still be trapped inside, constantly fighting against those great array formations. Yi Tianyun nodded and quickly summoned them into his inner world, which was the planet at the core of the 5 elements. After entering, they didn't feel anything wrong. In fact, the core of the 5 elements was equivalent to the balanced world outside. They couldn't sense anything wrong. Thus, they didn't feel anything was wrong. Rather, they felt comfortable and natural. After receiving them into his inner world, Yi Tianyun quickly moved forwards, avoiding the great array formations along the way. If he encountered one that he couldn't avoid, he would enter the void or break the array formation. Thus, there wasn't the least bit of pressure along the way. A 7th grade divine inscription master couldn't say that they could walk unhindered outside, but they could at least relax here. Soon, after breaking through the array formations, they finally passed through the long corridor and arrived at the great hall outside. It's really abnormal. There are 7 or 8 great array formations along the way. How can I even play? Yi Tianyun was a bit speechless. Even if it was to resist intruders, was there a need to be so abnormal? If he had judged wrongly, then his own people would have died in these great array formations. It was obvious that the master of this place was extremely suspicious and worried that someone would invade. Who knew that they would still die here? If they died outside, then wouldn't their efforts be in vain? Just as he was about to relax, a stiff voice suddenly sounded out in front of him. Intruders, die. The 5 puppets rushed towards Yi Tianyun's side. It's really a wave after wave of trouble. Damn it, if I encounter this fellow's corpse I will ruthlessly crush it. Yi Tianyun clenched his teeth. He released Empyrean Yu Qian and the others so that they could participate in the battle together. Chapter 1471. Yi Tianyun and Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others quickly got rid of this batch of puppet statues and obtained a pile of rare materials. However, they had used up quite a lot of resources. They had only been able to kill these puppet statues after putting their lives on the line. Each one was harder than the last, and their cultivation was not low either. It was already not bad that they could deal with them. At the same time, he obtained a key crystal stone called Golden Pyroxene. Golden Pyroxene? Could it be a stone placed in the groove outside? Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. He did not expect to obtain such a rare key after killing these puppets. Of course, it was another matter. At least for now, it seemed like it was a key. It's finally over. Let's continue. Yi Tianyun heaved a sigh of relief. After resting for a while, he took Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others back into his inner world and continued running forward. He had thought that there would be some dangerous area ahead. Who knew that he would arrive at a treasure trove? This is an elixir room. Yi Tianyun glanced around and saw that many of the medicine bottles on the shelves had fallen all over the ground. Many of them had already fallen and turned into piles of mud. If the elixirs were stored in elixir bottles, they might be able to last longer. However, after they fell out, the energy contained in them would dissipate. Over time, they would turn into mud without any energy. Yi Tianyun glanced around casually and finally fixed his eyes on the groove in the center area. There was nothing there. There was no key in this area, just a pile of elixirs. Logically speaking, the key should be in the groove. However, it was not here. Did this mean that they had made a wasted trip? The key was indeed taken away. Who would be so stupid as to leave the key here? Yi Tianyun shook his head. Then, he took out the golden pyroxene and inserted it into the groove. As soon as it was inserted, the groove immediately emitted a faint golden light. Then, the door began to open slowly, revealing the scene inside a large area of elixirs. There were fields of spiritual medicines here, all of them planted at the side. This was especially the case for the entire piece of land, which was a rare treasure. The seemingly ordinary soil was actually the new sea mud, a special kind of soil that could allow spirit herbs to grow faster. When Yi Tianyun released Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian, they were all shocked. He didn't expect that there would be such a complete herb garden here. This was somewhat unexpected. However, there was one thing that made them feel that it was a pity. The spirit herbs here had all withered and were basically no different from weeds. This place had been left unattended for too long, so it naturally became dilapidated. If it wasn't watered often, it would wither. This place was different from the golden spirit pool, which could nurture other spirit medicines. Using the liquid from the golden spirit pool to water this place would not have an obvious effect, and it might even kill the spirit medicines here. Not all spirit herbs could absorb the golden pool liquid. It seems that they didn't expect to encounter the war of the divine realm. At that time, these medicinal herbs probably hadn't matured yet. These batches of medicinal herbs were all at least 10,000 years old. What a pity, they've all been destroyed and have no effect at all. When Heavenly Venerate Li and the others saw the environment, they immediately knew that this was a herb garden. But the spirit herbs in this herb garden had all withered and were no different from weeds. When they were stuffed into their mouths, there was no effect at all. Moreover, they didn't even taste good. That's right, what a pity. These are all rare spirit herbs and their ages are also quite good. It's just a pity that they've all withered. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to restore them to their original state. Even if we wanted to restore them, it would be impossible. Even if we had such an ability, these are all at least 10,000 years old. How could we restore them? They all shook their heads, feeling that it was a great pity to watch so many spirit herbs disappear right in front of their eyes. Restoration ability. Yi Tianyun's eyes brightened. He recalled the treasure Tsuetsue that he had obtained before. It was a treasure that could revitalize spirit herbs. It was just that Tsuetsue's ability was too weak and it was too difficult to revitalize it. Unless its grade was greatly increased, that would be a different story. Let's take it first. Yi Tianyun didn't stand on ceremony. In a single breath, he swept up the entire patch of land and threw it into his inner world. The herb garden in front of him immediately became barren, with nothing left. Little junior brother, what do you want this pile of weeds for? When they saw Yi Tianyun's actions, they were very shocked. They didn't know what Yi Tianyun was going to do with it. There was no effect when they ate it, and it wouldn't return to its original state even if they planted it. Restoring vitality, of course. However, I have to find a way. I don't know if it will work, but I'll give it a try. Yi Tianyun didn't know if Tsuetsue could be restored, but he would give it a try first. Actually, it's not a bad choice to restore it. It's just that the price is probably a little high. Little junior brother, you have to take it easy. You have to see the price clearly. Heavenly Lord Sword Judge and the others all knew that there was a way to revitalize it, but the price was extremely high. For example, if the price of restoring one spirit herb was equivalent to 2 spirit herbs, it was clearly not worth it. That's for sure. I can't be reckless, right? I'm a region lord. I know the trade-offs, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. I almost forgot. If you become a region lord, you have to know how to be even more careful. Heavenly Lord Sword Judge and the others smiled, then shifted their gazes to the side. There are no more treasures to find here. Looks like we can only go. Yi Tianyun nodded. This was the end. Although there were other miscellaneous rooms, he didn't have any interest in searching. The main thing was that there definitely wouldn't be any good treasures in that area. Finding the key was the most important thing. Then they once again entered Yi Tianyun's inner world. Yi Tianyun went straight to the initial area. He wanted to use the golden pyroxene in his hand to open one of the doors. When he came to the area of the 3 doors, he was instantly startled. In front of him was a group of cultivators. There was no lack of acquaintances. This acquaintance was none other than Feng Qiuzun. He didn't expect that Feng Qiuzun would also come here. It was really a little unexpected. Surrounding Feng Qiuzun were 2 great forces that Yi Tianyun loathed. They were the supporters of the Myriad Heaven Divine Realm and the Sacred Peak Divine Realm. They had also sent people over. The names of their forces in the 4th grade Divine Realm were also called like this. It could be said that they had the same name. Actually, this would show that the forces below belonged to them. It would let the other divine realms know who it belonged to, and they wouldn't act recklessly. This was meaningless to Yi Tianyun. He would crush them all the same. Chapter 1472. Miss Feng Qiu, this is a 10,000-year-old coral. If it is made into jewelry, not only will it be beautiful, it will also help your cultivation. What is a 10,000-year-old coral? This is a 10,000-year-old sacred wood. If I use it to make a bed, I can even cultivate while sleeping. The top genius Empyreans of the 2 forces stared at each other. Their cultivation was at the upper-level Empyrean level. They were very young, and their bloodlines were not weak. But compared to Feng Qiu, they were still lacking. Empyrean Feng Qiu was the true genius. Compared to them, they paled in comparison. What was being compared here was not cultivation, but bone age. Feng Qiu's bone age was only 1,000 years old. They were tens of thousands of years old. In comparison, they were at the level of ancestors. Feng Qiu frowned, gesturing with her hand. Empyrean Tongwu, Empyrean Wo Xing, I appreciate your good intentions. Now I have matters to attend to, please move aside. Feng Qiu motioned for them not to block in front of her. The 2 Empyreans could only stand to the side, anger in their eyes. They did not expect that they would not accept their good intentions. It was equivalent to not giving them face. Even so, they did not dare to act rashly. Their cultivation was not only lower than Feng Qiu, the key was Feng Qiu's reputation. Who would dare to make a move against her? So many experts had come in and were all watching. If they acted rashly, something bad would happen. Feng Qiu then came to one of the doors. Taking out a white stone, she placed it into the groove. Following that, a ray of light appeared, covering the door in white light, but the door did not open, but was tightly shut, without any movement. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed. He did not expect Feng Qiu to have one of the keys. She must have obtained it from outside, and seeing that the ruins were opened, she came to open it. A treasure that even Feng Qiu came to take. It was definitely not simple. It was either not bad, or it had something to do with Feng Qiu. Of course, these were all Yi Tianyun's guesses. From the side, the keys were indeed not here. They could all be outside, or there could be only one inside. No matter what, at least Feng Qiu had one in her hands. No reaction. Venerable Feng Qiu frowned, looking at the other 2 grooves. Without a doubt, the other 2 grooves had to be filled at the same time before it could be officially opened. Yi Tianyun was also taken aback. He had thought that only one piece was needed to open the corresponding door. Now, it seemed that he had thought too much. He needed 3 keys at once to open all of them. Miss Feng Qiu, the Dragon Supreme ruins can't be opened with just a key. According to what we know, 3 keys are needed to open it. At that moment, Empyrean Tongwu walked over with a smile, fiddling with the information he knew. These 3 keys have long been lost outside. During the Divine Realm War, they were all in the hands of Empyrean Dragon Fate's disciples. But they all died outside. To obtain a key is indeed a great lucky chance. I didn't expect Miss Feng Qiu to have a key in her possession. However, coincidentally, I also have a key here. Empyrean Tongwu took out a key from his chest. This stone was also emitting a faint golden light, quite conspicuous. Venerable Feng Qiu's eyes brightened. She didn't expect that Empyrean Tongwu would have a key in his hands. Empyrean Tongwu, I didn't expect you to have a key? Venerable Feng Qiu was pleasantly surprised. Of course I do. You have a key, I have a key, doesn't that mean we are fated? Empyrean Tongwu smiled. After this matter is over, how about Miss Feng Qiu come to my faction? We can sit down and have a good chat to improve our relationship. Despicable, shameless. This scene fell into everyone's eyes, and they immediately felt shameless. But she had a key, and they didn't. Wasn't this the best proof? Especially Empyrean Tongwu, his face darkened. He didn't have a key. Just as Heavenly Venerable Tongwu had said, the 3 keys had all been lost outside. It was already very good to have 2 of them, let alone 3. Now there are only 2 keys, aren't we still unable to open the door? Empyrean Woxing walked over and retorted. He didn't want to see Empyrean Tongwu be so arrogant. We can't open the door, but who knows if a 3rd key will appear in the future. The treasures in the revered dragon ruins are quite good. I heard that Empyrean Dragon Fortune's strongest treasure is inside. He didn't take it out during the Divine Realm battle. Empyrean Tongwu smiled. Besides, I can give this key to Miss Feng Qiu. When Miss Feng Qiu collects the 3rd key, won't she be able to open it? Of course, as long as Miss Feng Qiu comes to our Divine Realm as a guest, we will give this key to her with both hands. Such despicable methods made the others feel very unhappy. But there was nothing they could do. This thing was so effective. The 3 keys were so precious, to give one away was really generous. Venerable Feng Qiu's gaze turned cold. She directly refused. Sorry, I cannot agree to this request. Venerable Feng Qiu was not moved by this. Instead, she straightforwardly refused. After Empyrean Tongwu was rejected, his face darkened. He didn't think that this Empyrean Feng Qiu wouldn't even give him this little bit of face. She was really too insensible. Miss Feng Qiu, you're not even willing to agree to this little request. This is a key, not an ordinary treasure. I'm only inviting you to be a guest. I won't do anything to you. Empyrean Tongwu said solemnly. Sorry, I still cannot agree. Venerable Feng Qiu wasn't a fool. How could she not know the other party's intentions? If she agreed, she definitely wouldn't be able to come out easily when she went to that force. Not to mention anything else, the price of this key was at least equivalent to an Empyrean-level treasure. But in Venerable Feng Qiu's view, this business wasn't worth it at all. If she opened this door, it wasn't just her who could enter, but it was opened from all directions. Anyone could enter. In the end, who would lose the most? Without a doubt, it would be her. Immediately, she took out another key and inserted it into another notch. She said solemnly, Empyrean Tongwu, whether or not you want to open it now is up to you. This time, everyone was stunned. They didn't think that Venerable Feng Qiu would have another key. Now, all 3 keys were gathered. As long as Empyrean Tongwu pushed it forward, the door here would open. At this time, Yi Tianyun, who was at the side, looked at the key in his inventory and shook his head. Logically speaking, there should only be 3 keys. Adding the one he had, it was equivalent to the 4th key. It was a bit of an exception. Chapter 1473. Venerable Feng Qiu gave the choice to Empyrean Tongwu, indicating for him to quickly choose whether to open the door or not. If he didn't open it, then no one could open it. The gazes of the others immediately gathered on Empyrean Tongwu. Whether they could eat and drink well and find top treasures depended on Empyrean Tongwu's choice. Miss Feng Qiu, this is even better. As long as you agree to be a guest, I will immediately hand over the key with both hands. It is very simple for you to be a guest of our force, we will absolutely not make things difficult for you. If not, then I am very sorry, I can only choose to leave. Empyrean Tong Wu was not anxious at all. The key was in his hands, would it fly away? As long as he did not agree, this door would never open. As for forcefully snatching it, he had brought many experts, even if they fought, they could not lose. Those who could come to this area were not ordinary people, they were at least middle-level Empyrean level or above. As long as there were no treasures to fight over, they wouldn't fight. But now there was something, but they did not dare to casually snatch it. Venerable Feng Qiu's expression was ugly, she did not expect Empyrean Tong Wu to do this. If he really left, there was really nothing she could do. This meant that she had to find Empyrean Tong Wu before he would choose to give it to her. Beside her, Empyrean Tong Xing was very unhappy. Could there be a way? Empyrean Tong Wu had something that Venerable Feng Qiu was interested in, but he did not have it. Just as she was thinking about something, Yi Tianyun stood up and said with a faint smile, "Venerable Feng Qiu, long time no see." When Venerable Feng Qiu looked over, she was a little surprised, then smiled slightly. "Yes, long time no see, I did not expect to see you here." With this greeting, the others all looked over, and upon a closer look, they found that it was a divine lord. This was a little unbelievable, everyone here was at the Empyrean level, how could a divine lord sneak in? Strange, a divine lord has the ability to come here? So many of us have come in, many places have been opened up, there is no more danger. It is not surprising that he could sneak in. The key is that he seems to be familiar with Venerable Feng Qiu. The people around started guessing. They were very curious about Yi Tianyun's identity. Empyrean Tong Wu and the others frowned. Empyrean Feng Qiu's attitude towards Yi Tianyun was quite good. This made them feel extremely unhappy, but they could not casually attack Yi Tianyun, who knew what kind of relationship the two of them had. If they were good friends, then if they killed Yi Tianyun, Feng Qiu's impression of them would definitely be extremely bad. Yes, I did not expect to see Empyrean Feng Qiu here. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, "Speaking of which, Empyrean Feng Qiu is still missing a key?" "Yes, we still lack a key." Venerable Feng Qiu shook her head at the thought of Empyrean Tong Wu not wanting to give the key. "Don't worry. It just so happens that I have a key here. Let's see if we can open it," Yi Tianyun said with a smile. "Bullshit." Celestial Lord Tongwu sized him up and said in a deep voice, "You have a key on you. If yours is a key, then what is mine? A fake key, it's that simple." Yi Tianyun took out the key and directly handed it to Empyrean Feng Qiu, saying, "Try it, see if it has any effect." When Yi Tianyun took out the golden pyroxene, everyone's eyes lit up. It really was exactly the same, there was no difference between the two. You really have this key." "No, yours is the fake one. My key was found in the corpse of one of Empyrean Long Yun's disciples, it definitely can't be fake," Empyrean Tong Wu said sternly. His key was indeed a real key, and not a fake one. But there was no other way, he just happened to meet Yi Tianyun, this strange person, both of them were real keys. But after Yi Tianyun said it, the meaning was different. "Is that so? Try it and you'll know." Yi Tianyun indicated for Empyrean Feng Qiu to embed it. "I said it's fake, so it's fake, you'll know in a while." Empyrean Tong Wu was very confident, he was sure that what he had was real, so he didn't have any worries. He just wanted to see Yi Tianyun fail, and then he would lose face. "Many thanks." Empyrean Feng Qiu took the key. Actually she was a little doubtful whether it was real or fake, but no matter if it was real or fake, wouldn't she know after trying it? Then she picked up the key and embed it. Just as it was embed, the three doors suddenly emitted a dazzling light, and the god seals on them quickly lit up. Then there was a rumbling sound, and the doors really opened. The group was dumbfounded, and at the same time as the doors opened, they all turned their gazes to Empyrean Tong Wu, their faces strange. Now that the doors were opened, it meant that the key in Empyrean Tong Wu's hands was fake, and not the real thing. "No, impossible. This key of mine is absolutely real. It can't be fake," Empyrean Tong Wu shouted, his face livid. How could he have a fake? This was something he personally found and then took out, how could it be fake? Fake is fake, what else is there to say? Now that the doors are open, what's the point of talking nonsense? Empyrean Tong Xing, who was beside him, took the opportunity to sneer. Using a fake to deceive Miss Feng Qiu, how sinister. If it wasn't for this little brother, you really would have succeeded. You. Empyrean Tong Wu's eyes were red as he stared at Yi Tianyun, having the urge to kill him. How did you get it? Where did you get it? I picked this up. Yi Tianyun said casually, is there a problem? Impossible. There should be only one of this thing. Empyrean Tong Wu's face alternated between green and white, feeling like he was going crazy. So many people were looking over here, and it really made him feel very embarrassed. But the truth was in front of him, and no one would believe his nonsense. The doors are open, the doors are open. At this time, the doors finally opened completely, and slowly opened to the side. A wave of air rolled out from inside, turning into 3 golden lights that shrouded them. This wave of air made them feel a little depressed, as if there was some special treasure inside. Emperor Tianyun, I wonder if we can go together? Empyrean Feng Qiu smiled at Yi Tianyun. If it wasn't for Yi Tianyun, they really would have fallen into the trap. She didn't expect Empyrean Tong Wu to be such a sinister villain, deceiving her. If she agreed to this key, wouldn't she fall into the trap? Chapter 1474. Of course, Yi Tianyun was not afraid of the threat from the 10,000 Heaven Divine Realm or the Sacred Peak Divine Realm. However, even if they didn't come to find trouble with him, he would still find trouble with them. After all, when the celestial realm of the 3 realms first arrived, they immediately sent people to besiege them. If it weren't for the protection of the barrier, it would have been flattened by the 2 god realms. Under such circumstances, how could he let these people go? Even if Empyrean Wise Star hadn't acted against him, he would have acted against them when he had the chance. These were all experience points. If he killed them one by one, breaking through to the Empyrean realm would be no problem at all. Now that he was about to be targeted by Heavenly Venerable Tongwu, how could he possibly let him off when he suddenly appeared and ruined Heavenly Venerable Tongwu's plans? It was just that Feng Qiu Zun was at the side, otherwise he would have made a move long ago. On the side, Empyrean Wise Star was gloating, feeling that this was very funny. This was the effect he wanted. He had originally thought that he would lose, but now it seemed that not only did Celestial Venerable Tongwu not gain anything, but he had also dug a deep pit for himself and jumped into it. However, everyone's attention was focused on the 3 doors in front of them. No one knew which one to choose. In their opinion, the 3 doors could lead to death, or they could lead to treasures. For the sake of safety, most people did not choose to act. Instead, they waited for the first person to eat the crab. It would undoubtedly be much safer to let them be the vanguard and the rest follow behind. From their point of view, even if they were the first to eat the crab, wouldn't it be fine to snatch it later? These people were the 2 great heavenly venerables of the Sacred Peak Celestial Realm and the Myriad Heaven Celestial Realm. They were not anxious at all, and were just waiting outside. They had the advantage in numbers, so no one could snatch resources from them. What, you're not going in? Empyrean Fertile Star shot a glance at the Empyrean beside him. Those Empyreans retreated one after another, similarly not daring to enter casually. The door seemed to be open, but who would dare to casually enter? At that time, it would be a matter of life and death. They did not want to lose their lives here. They still had a lot of things they wanted to do. I'll enter. At this time, there was an Empyrean who was very bold and took the lead to charge in. They felt that this was their only chance to turn things around. If he could get his hands on some top-notch treasures, he would be able to turn things around, especially some of the more special treasures. Following that, a group of people rushed in uniformly. With someone taking the lead, others immediately followed. Empyrean Walker and the others were very satisfied with this situation. This was the effect they wanted. Divine Lord Tianyun, this way. Venerable Feng Qiu stepped forward and chose one of the doors. Miss Feng Qiu, why are you in such a hurry? Wouldn't it be better to let the group in front explore the path first? It will be much safer this way. I'm sure you've sensed it along the way. There are many dangerous places, and it's easy to fall into danger. Empyrean Star's expression changed when he saw this. Empyrean Tongwu similarly wanted to persuade, but he had long lost all face. How could he still say it? Now, This opportunity had been snatched away by Empyrean Wise Star. I'm very sorry. I'm not the kind of person who is afraid of death. Feng Qiuzun said indifferently, especially the door here. I was the one who opened it. Naturally it was opened by me personally. After saying this, Feng Qiuzun brought Yi Tianyun to one of the doors and quickly disappeared in the light. Empyrean Star's gaze turned cold as he said hatefully, really stubborn. These women are so stubborn. If not for your reputation and talent, I wouldn't even bother with you. Empyrean Star was very unhappy. Beside him, Empyrean Tongwu sneered and quickly followed. He didn't choose any other path. He just followed Yi Tianyun. Without a doubt, he was heading towards Yi Tianyun's side, or towards Venerable Feng Qiu's side. Do all of you want to die? Empyrean Star frowned and immediately walked forward. Let's go. In the end, he still chose to walk the same path as Venerable Feng Qiu. No matter what, it depended on the opportunity. Who knows, he might be able to save the damsel in distress. What they fancied was Venerable Feng Qiu's reputation. It was similar to what Yi Tianyun fancied. It was this saintess-like reputation. If she could join their forces, it would definitely be greatly improved. But Venerable Feng Qiu did not want to join anyone. Even her savior was not willing to join. Yi Tianyun and Venerable Feng Qiu chose this path. They were the first batch. The people before them all chose the other two paths. The main reason was that Venerable Feng Qiu chose this path. They did not fight with her. Empyrean Feng Qiu, you chose this path. Is there any information? Yi Tianyun saw that Venerable Feng Qiu did not even think before choosing this path. He was slightly puzzled. There is no information. It's completely a random guess. Venerable Feng Qiu smiled. A smile filled with friendliness greeted him. It really had the effect of purifying one's soul. A random guess. Yi Tianyun shrugged helplessly. But you were able to get 2 keys. You must be fated with this place. I really did not know that Venerable Feng Qiu would be interested in this place. I thought that you would not care about anything. You only know how to walk around and save those who are in trouble. Venerable Feng Qiu was silent. She did not say anything. To Yi Tianyun, it was a tacit admission that she was interested in this place. And she came with a purpose. Seems like I was right. I believe that there is something you want in here. Or perhaps, you really have some relationship with the owner of this place. Yi Tianyun squinted at her and said, I do have some relationship. But compared to that, this place is more dangerous. I hope that Divine Lord Tianyun will follow me and not wander around. I can at least ensure your safety. It can be considered a form of repayment to you. As for how many opportunities you can obtain here, that will depend on your own luck. Venerable Feng Qiu did not reveal everything. She did not know Yi Tianyun well. It was normal that she did not confess everything. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed. From these words, he could tell that Venerable Feng Qiu really knew the way. She even knew how to go. How could it be like what she said, that it was a blind guess? In fact, Yi Tianyun also knows how to go about this. From the blueprint he obtained before, this is the right way to go. There was only one path that could lead to the innermost space. The other 2 paths were not wrong. There were still some treasures to speak of. Chapter 1475. Yi Tianyun's cultivation was only at the Divine Monarch 7th level, and had not changed much, causing Feng Qiuzun to think that he was only at the Divine Monarch level. He did not even have the cultivation of an Empyrean, and still came here alone. He was really bold. So she took up the responsibility of protecting him. After all, Yi Tianyun had saved her before. Although she had asked for payment, but to her, it was not enough to completely repay this kindness. After entering, there was still a long walkway inside, and the surroundings did not change much. But there was light coming from all directions, and it looked very strange. Even the ground was constantly emitting light, and it looked a little strange. A blue light flashed in Yi Tianyun's eyes, and the scene in front of him appeared in front of him. There were small hidden formations everywhere, and they were very well hidden. If not for his grade increasing, he really would not have been able to see them. These small formations were really too well hidden. Even some divine engraver of a high grade might not be able to discover them. As for the power, Yi Tianyun probed a little, and they were all killing formations. If one really stepped on them, they could be seriously injured, or even die. He did not expect that there would be so many dangerous formations here. If those people thought that after opening, it would be safe inside, then they were too naive. There was a large formation set up everywhere, as if it was specially set up to exterminate all intruders. Follow my footsteps, you cannot make a single mistake, or else even I cannot save you. Feng Qiuzun's expression was serious, and she put away that amiable smile from before, and walked step by step inside. Obviously she knew how dangerous it was inside, and even if she was familiar with this place, she had to be careful, or else she would not even know how she died. I know. Yi Tianyun responded. He didn't point it out. Wherever there was a formation or something, he just followed along. He wanted to see where Feng Qiuzun would bring him, or perhaps he wanted to see how Feng Qiuzun's character was. When Feng Qiuzun's loyalty to him did not reach 100, she might betray him. Maybe later on, when she encountered danger, or some special treasure, she might kill him. After all, his cultivation was only at the divine monarch level. To her, it was just a matter of one move. An upper-level Empyrean and a divine lord. The difference between them didn't need to be imagined. Immediately, Feng Qiuzun slowed down her pace, walked forward step by step. Yi Tianyun also followed step by step. These steps all happened to land in the gaps of the numerous formations. There was only one gap in each area. Just from this, one could tell that Feng Qiuzun was familiar with the environment here, if not she would not be able to find the way so easily. Venerable Feng Qiu, it seems like you are very familiar with this place. Yi Tianyun followed behind, and at the same time, he started to talk leisurely. He was naturally not afraid of going the wrong way. Feng Qiuzun might be afraid of going the wrong way, but he was not. His heaven eye was always open, so he could see everything that was going on. Although he knew that Empyrean Feng Qiu would not harm him, but he had to be careful. Who knew if Empyrean Feng Qiu had forgotten? If they triggered the array here, they would really be finished. Don't speak. Feng Qiuzun's expression was still very serious, looking around to prevent herself from going the wrong way. Yi Tianyun saw how serious Feng Qiuzun was, and could only obediently shut his mouth. It seemed like Feng Qiuzun knew the path, but she was not familiar with it, at least not the type that she walked often. Otherwise, Feng Qiuzun would definitely walk forward casually, and not carefully step by step. At this time, Empyrean Tongwu and the rest caught up, and just as they came up, they saw that Yi Tianyun and the rest were already far ahead. At the same time, their figures were somewhat hazy, and they could not see the situation under their feet. This was all because of the light emitted, causing them to be unable to clearly see Feng Qiuzun's footsteps, in case they knew where to go. Chase after them. Empyrean Tongwu signaled for his subordinates to go first. One of the lower-level Empyreans looked around, and then tentatively walked forward. Just as he stepped into the passage, countless rays of light pierced through, directly turning this lower-level Empyrean into a sieve. Come back. Empyrean Tongwu was shocked, and quickly hooked his subordinate back, but this lower-level Empyrean was already on the verge of death. His whole body was covered in dense wounds, looking terrible, and it was unknown how many times his soul had been pierced. Damn it, it's all attack arrays in front, how does that woman know how to go? Empyrean Tongwu looked at his subordinate, feeling very angry, and quickly signaled his other subordinates to heal him. No matter what, he was a Empyrean, as long as he was not dead, he could not be wasted. Empyrean Tongwu, thank you for trying, otherwise we really wouldn't know that the power of the array here is so strong. Speaking of which, if there was no problem with your key, I believe that Empyrean Feng Qiu would definitely bring you in. Now, TSK, what a pity. At this time, Empyrean Tongwu also came up, and when he saw the Empyrean on Empyrean Tongwu's side was injured, he felt very refreshed, and couldn't wait for Yi Tianyun Tongwu's side to be destroyed. I'll say it again, my key is not fake. As for how that kid got the key, I don't know either. Maybe it's an extra key that came out. Empyrean Tongwu explained coldly. No need to explain to me, want to explain to Empyrean Feng Qiu, but now, she definitely won't believe you. Empyrean Tongwu came to the front here, sized it up carefully, and said coolly, don't say anything else, cooperate for the time being, How about it? Cooperate? How to cooperate? Empyrean Tong Wu looked at him coldly and said. Very simple, we came this time for nothing more than to obtain the treasures here. But I can tell that you're a little more interested in that kid and Empyrean Feng Qiu. Let's make a deal, you want the people, I want all the treasures, how about it? Empyrean Tong Xing got up and said coolly after inspecting this place. Coveting all the treasures, your appetite is really big enough. Do you think that I don't know what you're eyeing? Empyrean Tong Wu said in a cold voice, Dragon Sovereign Temple's most precious, apart from a pile of Empyrean-level treasures, there's also the bloodline of an ancient Empyrean. The bloodline of an ancient Empyrean is the most important. Do you take me for a fool? Ancient Empyrean bloodline, is it? Then I'll give you a small share, how about it? One has to know, the grand array here isn't that easy to crack. We just happen to have the corresponding divine inscription master on our side and can break through bit by bit. Otherwise, don't even think about going in, Empyrean Tong Xing suggested. You're merely paying more attention to Empyrean Feng Qiu. At that time, just forcefully possess her will do. I feel that compared to the ancient Empyrean bloodline, it's much more precious. Empyrean Tong Wu's eyes narrowed, seemingly a little moved. Can't I wait here for her to come out? Empyrean Tong Wu said in a cold voice. Then why don't you give it a try? I don't believe that there's only one exit here. If it's too late, they'll run, Empyrean Tong Xing said fiercely. Okay, cooperate. Empyrean Tong Wu said in a cold voice, at that time, I want that kid's life, and also that Empyrean Feng Qiu's life, to make her completely submit to me. Chapter 1476. The two great forces once again came to an agreement. After weighing the pros and cons, both sides immediately knew what to do. The two forces both had their own needs, their thoughts and goals were different, so naturally it was easy to work together. For example, Empyrean Tong Wu paid more attention to Venerable Feng Qiu. He also wanted the treasure, but from the looks of it, it was not so easy to obtain. Empyrean Hua Xing was interested in Venerable Feng Qiu, but not as interested as Empyrean Tong Wu, so he could choose to give up. In his view, obtaining the treasure was the most important thing, everything else was superficial. They immediately began to research where the gap was, and how to successfully pass through here. Not only did Empyrean Hua Xing have a divine carving master, in fact Empyrean Tong Wu also had a divine carving master, and with the two working together, it would undoubtedly speed up the search. In a short while, they immediately found the correct route, and followed them step by step, chasing towards the area that Yi Tianyun and the others were heading towards. As they painstakingly caught up step by step, Yi Tianyun and Empyrean Feng Qiu had already passed more than half the distance, and there was still a small half that they had not passed. Along the way, Venerable Feng Qiu's forehead was covered in cold sweat, evidently from nervousness. After all, the power of the Great Formation here was not weak, and even an upper-level Empyrean like her could not easily resist it. The main thing was that one wrong step could easily lead to many mistakes, so she absolutely could not make a single mistake. Because she was too focused, it caused her mental strength to be severely exhausted, and her forehead was covered in sweat. In contrast, Yi Tianyun was relaxed, without any sense of nervousness. The next step should be here. Venerable Feng Qiu stepped to the side, and behind her, Yi Tianyun's expression changed, and he hurriedly wanted to call out to her, but it was already too late. Venerable Feng Qiu stepped, but the place she stepped on was naturally not the right place, but the wrong place. Shio shio shio. Countless beams of light continuously shot out from the walls, and even the ground, piercing towards her. She was startled, and just as she was about to resist, a large hand suddenly wrapped around her waist and pulled her back at an extremely fast speed. Peng peng peng. The beams of light kept hitting the walls before disappearing. They did not affect the surroundings at all. At the same time, they did not affect the area where Yi Tianyun was. This place was divided according to region, so there wouldn't be a situation where triggering a large formation would lead to danger everywhere. If that was really the case, he would have to start all over again after taking one wrong step. Feng Qiu Zun, you were almost beaten into a sieve. Yi Tianyun put her down. If he had not been faster, Feng Qiu Zun would have been turned into a sieve. Even though her cultivation wasn't bad and she could block quite a few attacks, she would still suffer some injuries. Thank you. Feng Qiuzun's face turned red. She did not think that she would remember wrongly. She had thought that she would be the one protecting Yi Tianyun, but now it seemed that Yi Tianyun was the one helping her. It doesn't matter. Where do we go now? Yi Tianyun pointed ahead. This. I forgot. Feng Qiuzun thought for a moment, then shook her head. What? You forgot? Yi Tianyun was stunned. He did not think that Feng Qiuzun would forget. In a situation where she did not remember clearly, she still dared to come here. I really don't remember much about this. I came here a long time ago. I only remember a bit. I don't remember much now. Feng Qiuzun blushed, feeling very embarrassed. That means, starting from here, you don't remember much. Yi Tianyun pointed at the passage in front and asked. No, I don't remember much of it. For example, I don't remember much of the place in front. I only remember a bit of the place in front. Feng Qiuzun shook her head. You've been here before. Looks like you really have been here before. You really do have some relationship with the owner of this place. Yi Tianyun smiled. As expected, as they advanced, she exposed more and more things. Didn't I say it before? I do have some relationship. Feng Qiuzun's gaze turned to the formation in front and she frowned. The key is how to break this place, that is the key. In terms of formations, I'm not very familiar. Do we have to try again and again? If we try again and again, it will take at least a few months to finish. Yi Tianyun rolled his eyes at her. He had thought she was a strong teammate, who knew she was a trap. The area in front of them was not big, but there were so many places, only one was correct, so it would take a long time to try. This time might be longer, or it might be shorter. But now, we can only try like this. Feng Qiuzun sighed. How about this? Let me try and see how my luck is. Yi Tianyun pointed to the front. Try your luck. Feng Qiuzun was taken aback, then shook her head. That's not reliable. If I try, it's fine, but if you try, you'll be easily injured. Alright, I'll let you try, I'll explain, how about it? Yi Tianyun smiled. No problem, it's all trying anyway. Feng Qiuzun nodded. She was not a divine engraver, so she naturally did not know how to go in this area. She could only try. Then let's start from here. Yi Tianyun pointed to an empty space in front, indicating for her to jump there. Okay. Feng Qiuzun prepared everything, quickly summoning 2 Empyrean spirit treasures to protect her body, as if she was facing a great enemy. Then she lifted her foot and stepped forward, landing on the ground in front of her. When she was prepared to be attacked, she found that nothing happened, which meant she had walked to the right place. No, nothing. Feng Qiuzun was shocked. She did not expect to succeed on the first try. She turned her head, her beautiful eyes filled with shock. Looks like your luck is not bad. You succeeded on the first try. Yi Tianyun said with a smile. This luck is indeed not bad. Feng Qiuzun did not know what to say. Succeeding on the first try made her feel that it was inconceivable. She originally had the thought of trying many times, but who knew that she would succeed on the first try? This was something she had not expected. Didn't I say that my luck is not bad? Yi Tianyun smiled as he stepped over, looking ahead. Do you have an impression of what's ahead? I have a little impression. I'll continue to lead the way. Feng Qiuzun did not think too much. She really thought that Yi Tianyun's luck was heaven-defying. That was why he succeeded on the first try. Then she continued to lead the way a few more times, but her memory became blurry again, and she forgot the road ahead. You forgot again? Yi Tianyun was speechless. Yes, I forgot a little. The memories from when I was young are not very deep. Feng Qiuzun said awkwardly. Then let's continue trying. I think we'll go over there. Yi Tianyun pointed to the area in front. Feng Qiuzun lifted her foot. There was still no problem. One step was right. Feng Qiuzun was shocked again, and said to Yi Tianyun, You're right again. Chapter 1477. If he guessed it the first time, then forget it. If his luck was good, he could guess it the first time. But now that he guessed it the second time, she was horrified. But looking up and down at Yi Tianyun, she couldn't see any flaws. She felt that Yi Tianyun shouldn't be a divine carving master. Even if he was, he couldn't find a flaw in it in such a short time. If that was the case, then wasn't it too amazing? The grade had to be at least 6th or 7th grade. Yi Qianyun's cultivation was only at the divine monarch level. In her opinion, he couldn't be a high-level divine carving master. So there was only one possibility, and that was that his luck defied the heavens. He really guessed it right. It wasn't that there weren't such people. There really were cultivators with heaven-defying luck who could guess it right easily. Your luck is really amazing. You are the luckiest cultivator I've ever seen. Feng Qiuzun shook her head. If not for you, I would have spent a lot of time here and it would have been very difficult to reach the end. It's fine, just a bit of luck. If not for Feng Qiuzun bringing me here, I probably wouldn't have made it here. Yi Qianyun smiled. Feng Qiuzun nodded, feeling that it was true. If one could continue defying the heavens, this wasn't just luck, it was simply knowing the right path. Occasionally being right once or twice was understandable, but if it was always right, how could it be luck? I should still remember the path behind. Let's continue. Feng Qiuzun continued to lead Yi Qianyun forward. Her memory was fragmented and it was already not bad that she could remember most of it. Even without Yi Qianyun leading the way, she could try it bit by bit without any problems. She just needed to spend a bit more time. With her ability, there wasn't much pressure on her to protect herself, she just needed to spend a bit more time. Feng Qiuzun finally led him step by step on the right path. The impression towards the back would probably be deeper so that it would be smoother and smoother. But when he was young, it was normal not to remember much. It wasn't like now, his memory was amazing. If he wanted to remember something, there wasn't any pressure at all. As Feng Qiuzun was leading the way, they passed through easily, and finally Yi Qianyun saw an exit ahead. He could finally leave this damned place. The exit is just ahead. Venerable Feng Qiu's eyes lit up. Even if she could remember it later, she could not guarantee that it was correct, so her nerves were still stretched taut. When she saw the exit, she could finally heave a sigh of relief. It had been a dangerous journey. After passing through several large formations, he stepped out of the gate and finally exited through it. Yi Qianyun also took a step forward and walked out of the tunnel. What appeared in front of him was not a treasure vault, but a huge golden tree. The golden tree grew there, its thick branches and leaves spreading out in all directions, enveloping the huge temple. Golden tree. When Yi Qianyun raised his eyes and saw this giant tree, he was shocked. The gigantic golden tree covered the entire area, but that wasn't the main point. It wasn't strange for a special area to have a giant tree. What was shocking was that this giant tree was a divine tree. Golden tree, middle-level Empyrean-level cultivation. The golden leaves on its body could be used to refine weapons or pills. Its golden tree sap could even be used to strengthen the physique. In an emergency, it could turn into countless sharp blades and reap the lives of others. It was a tree demon. Its strength was shocking. Tree demon. The golden tree in front of him was actually a tree demon. Tree demons weren't anything special. The main point was that this was a middle-level Empyrean tree demon. Its strength was powerful. It could definitely kill millions of enemies. Just as he entered, Yi Qianyun immediately felt that he was locked on. A killing intent surrounded him from all directions, and at the same time, the branches in all directions started to tremble, preparing to fight at any time. Little Gold, don't be nervous, it's me. At this time, Empyrean Feng Qiu called out softly, indicating that the golden tree shouldn't be nervous. Little Gold. When Yi Qianyun heard this, he felt like vomiting blood. She actually called him Little Gold. But thinking about it, she had said that she had come to this area before, that she was young and immature. Calling him Little Gold was not a problem. With Empyrean Feng Qiu's shout, the golden tree really didn't have any killing intent, and immediately shook twice at her, as if expressing its happiness. At the same time, a few branches from the side wrapped around her. Empyrean Feng Qiu did not refuse. She reached out to grab the branch, gently comforting it, smiling slightly, a warm aura pervading the place. This golden tree couldn't speak. Even if it broke through to Empyrean level, some still couldn't speak. But it could clearly express its meaning, and at the same time, it could transmit energy and information. It was no different from being able to speak. Now that the branches wrapped around her, It was actually talking to Empyrean Feng Qiu. I know, it's been hard on you all these years, it's always been hard on you. This time, I came here to bring you away, Uncle has already left, there's no meaning in staying here. Empyrean Feng Qiu lightly touched the branch, her face full of worry. Rustle, the branches made rustling sounds, as if they were crying, golden leaves continuously fell, turning into balls of golden flames, as if they were worshipping something. Yi Tianyun watched from the side, he could feel the sorrow that pervaded the hall. From this simple conversation, he already understood that the master of the Dragon Sovereign Shrine was related to Empyrean Feng Qiu. No wonder she was familiar with this place, how could she not know her uncle's shrine? After a long time, they finally finished their simple reminiscing. Under Empyrean Feng Qiu's wave, the enormous golden tree quickly shrunk, turning into an extremely small tree, and then jumped over, landing on Empyrean Feng Qiu's palm. This made Yi Tianyun feel very envious, he had taken in an Empyrean just like that, and it was a spirit medicine type Empyrean. Her entire body was a treasure, if he could get his hands on her, it would greatly strengthen the Three Realms God domain. If I can recruit this little girl into my sect, won't they all be mine? Yi Tianyun's gaze flashed, but Empyrean Feng Qiu was really hard to swallow. Two great god domains were not willing to recruit her, he did not know what conditions he had to offer to swallow her. I almost forgot, these are for you, they will be of great help. At this time, Empyrean Feng Qiu came to Yi Tianyun's side, taking down a dozen golden leaves and handing them to him. As the saying goes, everyone who sees it has a share. But what he got was the leaves, Empyrean Feng Qiu got the golden tree. Chapter 1478. The golden tree was a good thing, if Yi Tianyun came in alone to suppress it, he should be able to suppress it, but it might be difficult. The conditions here were too good for it, if it was used, it would be equivalent to dealing with the entire revered dragon ancient ruins, the difficulty would not be small. When they wanted to continue forward, the golden tree in Feng Qiuzun's embrace suddenly trembled violently. Then it jumped to the side, rooted to the ground, and started to grow rapidly. When it was almost the height of a person, it started to emit a dazzling golden light. This is a breakthrough. Yi Tianyun discovered that the golden tree had started to frantically absorb the energy around it, the great formation on the ground started to flicker, and were all activated by it. An endless stream of energy was gathered by the great formation, and then gathered here. The entire hall started to shake, it meant that the great formation here was really strong, but it was just a simple energy-gathering great formation. If the golden tree was stationed here, it would really be able to continuously absorb energy to replenish its own consumption. In battle, it would definitely be the strongest guard. This kind of plant-type life form had astonishing life force, as long as it had enough energy, it could recover at an astonishing rate. But now it was breaking through, Yi Tianyun guessed that it might have met Feng Qiuzun, and obtained some enlightenment, and broke through to a higher level. Previously, its cultivation was at the middle-level Sky Sovereign level, when it broke through, it would be the late-level Sky Sovereign level. For a demon tree, it was a very astonishing level. Feng Qiuzun had specially rushed over, one of the reasons was probably to take away the golden tree. Yes, it is breaking through, then we will stay here to protect it. Feng Qiuzun said apologetically. It's fine, you are just worried that other cultivators will come, at that time they might attack it. Yi Tianyun knew what she was thinking. When it was breaking through, it was at its weakest, and it was easy for others to subdue it. Yes, I don't know when those people will come, just in case, I will stay here to protect it. I came here to take some important things, the rest of the treasures can be given to you. Feng Qiuzun said, as for some special things, some of them are not something I can obtain, it will all depend on our luck. Feng Qiuzun was not invincible, although she was related to the owner of this place, it did not mean that it could be opened just for her. Therefore, there were still some things that she couldn't take away. Yi Tianyun nodded and didn't insist. He sat down on the side and waited for the golden tree to break through. The golden tree's breakthrough looked rather slow, but it did not require any heavenly tribulation. As long as it absorbed enough energy to replenish its energy, it would be able to successfully break through. Therefore, all that was needed was time and nothing else. Then, the two of them sat down to meditate to protect the golden tree. As time passed, The light emitted by the golden tree became purer and purer. Time passed quickly, and the golden tree behind him grew stronger and stronger. From the looks of it, he would be able to make a breakthrough soon. Almost there. I need a little more time to break through. Feng Qiuzun looked at the golden tree behind him, and could roughly sense it. Yes, I still need a little more time. Yi Tianyun nodded. He could also feel that the golden tree's condition had already entered the final stage. All the leaves on the golden tree began to fall, and then they quickly turned into piles of energy and merged into the ground. They once again turned into rich nutrients to provide him with energy. If he thought that the transformed leaves could be taken away by them, then he was too naive. The demon tree's breakthrough still required more energy. His own leaves were equivalent to energy reserves, and they would fall when he broke through, so that he could absorb them to break through. This is the golden tree? That's great. I didn't think that there would be a golden tree here. It's indeed not bad. It's said that the golden tree's effects are not bad. If we bring it back to our faction and plant it, it will greatly increase the effect of nurturing disciples. Just this golden tree alone is worth all the effort we put in to come here. Yi Tianyun looked up. Apart from Empyrean Tongwu and Empyrean Woxing, who else could it be from the entrance? They brought a group of powerhouses in. There were more than a dozen Empyreans, and the lowest cultivation base was a lower-level Empyrean. They immediately surrounded the place. Empyrean Feng Qiu's expression changed. What she was worried about had finally come. These people would definitely plunder everything. They would not let anything go. Yo, looks like it's still breaking through. Take the chance to subdue it. If we wait for it to break through, it will be much more difficult to subdue it. Empyrean Woxing's eyes lit up when he saw the golden tree breaking through. You dare. Empyrean Feng Qiu stood up and looked at them coldly. Light was released from her body, and it turned into a cyclone that circulated beside her. When Empyrean Feng Qiu erupted, she did not have the slightest bit of her usual friendliness. She was still filled with killing intent. Why wouldn't we dare? With just the two of you? Empyrean Woxing and the others laughed disdainfully. They felt that Yi Tianyun's side was so laughable. The two of them wanted to protect the golden tree? That's right. Do you think you can overturn the heavens? Perhaps we might be afraid of you outside, but what about here? Who will know about you? If we kill you, no one will know that we did it. Empyrean Tongwu's eyes were filled with viciousness. He looked her up and down and sneered, be sensible and choose to surrender. Sign an oath with me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Empyrean Tongwu's aura directly exploded. Killing intent surged over. It was obvious that he wanted to kill Empyrean Feng Qiu. If he couldn't get it, then he would destroy it. If it was obtained by other forces, it would be a future trouble. Empyrean Feng Qiu looked at them coldly. It seemed that these people had nothing to fear. They were no longer worried about her influence here. There were no other forces here, so she was naturally not afraid of being found out. You, boy. You dare to ruin my plans. Later, watch as I peel off your skin layer by layer. I'll let you know what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Empyrean Tongwu looked at him fiercely, his eyes filled with killing intent. The one he wanted to deal with the most now was still Yi Tianyun. He had ruined his plans before. How could he let him go? It seems that I've harmed you. Empyrean Feng Qiu shook her head and smiled bitterly. Facing so many Empyreans, even if she could escape, Yi Tianyun could not. Chapter 1479. Yi Tianyun wasn't worried about this at all. He was still relaxed. Looking at the many Empyreans surrounding them, he smiled in satisfaction. Oh, it seems like you think that it's just the two of us? Yi Tianyun smiled lightly. What, you have helpers? Empyrean Tongwu turned his head and looked to the side. He didn't see any cultivators. Did you rush over here? But so what? There are a lot of great arrays here. Our people have spent a lot of effort to break them one by one. Even if you have helpers, it will be a matter of time before you can do it. Empyrean Tongwu was right. They all knew that it was extremely difficult along the way. It took a lot of time to crack the arrays one by one. Moreover, they had several divine carver masters to be able to do it so quickly. If it were other cultivators, it would be hard to say. But no matter what, it would take several months to reach here. Therefore, he didn't need to worry about anything. By the time they rushed over, Yi Qianyun and the others would have already been subdued. Of course not. Yi Qianyun waved his hand. Empyrean Yu Qian and the others came out. Suddenly, there were 4 Empyreans. The sudden change stunned them. They didn't expect that someone would be willing to put others in their inner world. Empyrean Tongwu and the others didn't dare to do so. Even their own subordinates wouldn't be allowed to enter their inner world. Now, a divine lord had placed 4 Empyreans in his inner world. It was really amazing. Let alone Empyrean Tongwu, even Empyrean Feng Qiu was shocked. She really didn't think that Yi Qianyun would bring 4 Empyreans. You are Empyrean Li? At this time, an Empyrean next to him immediately recognized Empyrean Li. The vast divine sect had a bit of fame. Some of their Empyreans were famous. For example, Empyrean Li was very powerful. Since he was often outside, it was normal for him to have a bit of fame. Yes, it's me. Empyrean Li and the others already knew the details of the situation. They also knew that the golden tree behind them was breaking through. So, you are all disciples of the vast divine sect. The Empyrean on the side glanced around and roughly saw some things. These people were disciples of the vast divine sect. A disciple of the vastness God sect. Heavenly Venerable Tongwu looked ahead and sneered. I remember now. I heard that the new force is from the vast divine sect. How bold of you to try and seize power from us. I remember now as well. I've always heard that the new faction is impossible to break through, and it seems that the heavens are looking out for them. They've even created a barrier that we can't break through. We've lost so many powerhouses, we have to settle this debt. Nearby, Empyrean Wise Star's eyes turned cold and his resentment soared. When they thought of this matter, they became angry. Perhaps they didn't go there personally, but when they heard that there was a problem with their own forces, they were definitely furious. Speaking of which, your master seems to have returned to the heavenly cultivation god realm? Celestial Lord Tongwu looked at them and sneered. Your status seems to have risen. You might be a little fearful outside, but who would know if I killed you here? Yes. The vast divine sect should have been eliminated long ago. Let's see if you can still be so arrogant then. Only now did Empyrean Fertile Star and Empyrean Tongwu truly join forces. This made them even angrier. This time, they wanted to silence all of them, exterminate all of them. Each and every one of them billowed with rage, fiery light shooting out from their eyes, wanting to exterminate them. Looks like summoning people out not only did it not make them afraid, it aroused their killing intent even stronger instead. This was actually all within the scope of Yi Qianyun's expectations. But no matter what, they had to be released. Fighting together, they could resist a portion of the powerhouses. There were 5 upper-level Empyreans present, 8 or 9 middle-level Empyreans, and several lower-level Empyreans too. Adding up, the number was not small. On Yi Qianyun's side, including Empyrean Feng Qiu, there were only 6. Among them, there were only 3 upper-level Empyrean level. Compared to that side, the disparity was still rather obvious. As for the middle-level Empyrean side, the disparity was even greater. It was simply the level of suffering a crushing defeat. Especially in their view, Yi Qianyun was overlooked even more. How strong was a divine lord? This meant that there were only 4 who could fight. Yi Qianyun was eliminated from the start, so how could he have any lethality? If you want to destroy our vast divine sect, let's see if you have the ability to do so. Yi Qianyun's gaze swept across them, and a star god spear quickly appeared in his hand, preparing for battle. Whether or not I can destroy your vast divine sect is another matter, but to destroy you all, it is more than enough. Empyrean Tongwu looked at him coldly and said, especially you, killing you is as simple as stepping on an ant. Go. Don't talk nonsense with them. If this continues, that golden tree will succeed in breaking through. Empyrean Wo Xing had already prepared everything. Under the command, he immediately pounced forward. Nearly 20 Empyreans surrounded them. Their goal was to first destroy Yi Qianyun and the others, then capture Empyrean Feng Qiu alive. Go. Empyrean Yu Qian and the others rushed forward without hesitation, summoning their strongest Empyrean spiritual treasures to fight the other side. Yi Tianyun did not move, squatting beside the golden tree, seemingly hiding behind it and not counterattacking, but in fact, he was protecting the golden tree. Now was the golden tree's weakest moment. If they forcibly collected it, they could basically suppress and collect it. After all, the energy had been used for breaking through, and there was basically no power to counterattack. Capture that kid for me. Don't even think about hiding behind it. Empyrean Tong Wu gestured for his subordinates to capture Yi Tianyun. He also wanted to capture him alive. He had to kill Yi Tianyun with his own hands. If he was killed by others, he would not be able to vent his anger. Very quickly, 2 middle-level Empyreans came over, wanting to capture Yi Tianyun alive. In their opinion, sending 2 middle-level Empyreans was enough to capture Yi Tianyun. Originally, they wanted to send one, but they were afraid that something unexpected would happen, so they directly sent 2. Empyrean Yu Qian and the others glanced over, then ignored them. But Empyrean Feng Qiu on the side shouted anxiously, "They sent people to capture Lord Tianyun, hurry back and protect him. Or keep him in the inner world. Don't worry, junior brother Tianyun will be fine." Empyrean Yu Qian and the others smiled faintly, as if they did not care at all. Chapter 1480. Venerable Feng Qiu did not trust Yi Tianyun as much as Celestial Lord Yu Qian and the others. No matter what, it was her fault that Yi Tianyun caused this situation. When she wanted to turn around to help, Celestial Lord Tong Wu quickly intercepted her, waving 2 scythes and slashing towards her. The move was not fatal, but if she was hit, she would definitely be injured. Venerable Feng Qiu could only flick 2 fingers, a wooden zither suddenly appeared in the void, and with a flick, it turned into countless light waves that spread forward. Dong. The 2 attacked each other once, and then immediately bounced back, no one gaining the upper hand. Want to save someone? Do you think it's possible? Celestial Lord Tong Wu smiled coldly. Capture him, first cripple his arms and legs for me. Let Miss Feng Qiu see what the consequences of rejecting me are. The 2 Celestial Lords' gazes turned cold, a long sword quickly appeared in their hands, preparing to cut off Yi Tianyun's arms and legs. Venerable Feng Qiu panicked, hurriedly shouting, "He has nothing to do with me, don't hurt the innocent." "It has nothing to do with you, but it has to do with me," Celestial Lord Tong Wu said angrily. "Previously, he even messed up my plans. My key is definitely real, making me lose all face. If I don't kill him, I can't quell my anger." As they spoke, the 2 middle-level Celestial Lords had already surrounded them. "Kid, we only want your arms and legs. If you move, you might lose your head." One of the middle-level Celestial Lords waved his long sword lightly, wanting to cut off Yi Tianyun's arms and legs. Yi Tianyun's expression was indifferent, not affected in the slightest, as if what he was about to cut was not his arms and legs. "That's right, just like this, don't move." When they saw that Yi Tianyun did not move, they were overjoyed. They were really afraid that Yi Tianyun would act recklessly, and if they were not careful, they would really cut him into 2. Venerable Feng Qiu became more and more anxious, wanting to charge through Celestial Lord Tong Wu's defense several times, but to no avail. Celestial Lord Tong Wu was not weak, his cultivation was the same as hers, also at the genius level. Maybe Venerable Feng Qiu was a little stronger, but looking at the current situation, it would be impossible to break through in a short time. Don't be delusional. Just watch from here. Celestial Venerable Tong Wu laughed loudly, his laughter full of carefree and gloomy coldness. He was finally ready to see Yi Tianyun being severely punished, and he was even able to hear Yi Tianyun's miserable screams. These were all things that made him feel incomparably carefree. Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others couldn't even be bothered to look over. Instead, they focused on fighting the others. They would be able to defend this place for a while. It was rather difficult to gain the upper hand in a short period of time. There was a huge disparity in their overall strength to begin with, so it was really impossible to kill them instantly. Empyrean Yu Qian could crush a middle-level Empyrean, but with other upper-level Empyreans intercepting her, she had no way of breaking through their defenses. Looks like that's the only way. Venerable Feng Qiu bit her lips, a white light flashed in her eyes, as though she was prepared to fight with her life on the line. Everything had started because of her, so she would be responsible for it. Just as she was about to explode, Yi Tianyun suddenly disappeared. A cold light pierced through a middle-level Empyrean, followed by a multicolored pillar of light that erupted from the middle-level Empyrean's body. He didn't even have time to scream before he turned into a pile of blood mist. A middle-level Empyrean, dead. The other middle-level Empyrean did not even have time to react. By the time he reacted, it was already too late. This cold light similarly pierced through. By the time he summoned an even stronger Empyrean spirit treasure, the stellar divine spear was like a comet, piercing through his body and causing a violent explosion. The second middle-level Empyrean, dead. After the two Empyreans died, they quickly turned into piles of experience that surged over, filling up his experience. The feeling of a middle-level Empyrean is different. I have more experience. Yi Tianyun felt very satisfied. Holding the stellar divine spear, he looked over and said indifferently, "Just two middle-level Empyreans? This isn't even enough for me to warm up. Can you send a little more?" The pupils of Empyrean Tongwu and the rest constricted, completely frightened by this scene. Two middle-level Empyreans were instantly killed just like that. And it was even killed by a divine lord in an instant. Didn't they see wrongly? Empyrean Feng Qiu was similarly dumbfounded. The power that she wanted to erupt rapidly disappeared, unable to erupt. How is this possible? Is this still a divine lord? Empyrean Tongwu flew into a rage and said, "Kill him for me, this kid must be hiding his strength." To be able to easily kill two middle-level Empyreans, he was definitely not a divine lord, but deliberately hiding his strength, which was why he was thought to be a divine lord. In reality, he was just pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger, taking advantage of their carelessness to launch a ruthless sneak attack and annihilate them. Under the command, there were immediately 4 middle-level Empyreans and 1 upper-level Empyrean who rushed over to Yi Tianyun's side, no longer fighting with Empyrean Longming's side. This greatly reduced the pressure on Empyrean Longming and Empyrean Sai Sai. If this continued, they definitely wouldn't be able to hold on. 5 Empyreans surrounded him. How was this just a simple warm-up? They simply wanted to crush him. This is getting a little interesting. Yi Tianyun saw them rushing over. It was about time to raise his cultivation. Facing so many Empyrean powerhouses, if he didn't raise his cultivation, he really wouldn't be able to deal with them. He wasn't a god. Even if he had the word god, it didn't mean that he was an omnipotent god. Level up. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun for successfully breaking through to level 8 God Lord. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun for successfully breaking through to level 9 God Lord. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun for successfully breaking through to level 9 God Lord. After winning 3 levels in a row, his experience was immediately sucked dry. He was still a long way from reaching Empyrean level. Breaking through from level 9 God Lord to Empyrean required a lot of experience. It was comparable to all the experience of level 1 God Lord and level 9 God Lord combined. After leveling up, his aura suddenly surged, and his eyes were filled with a blazing fighting spirit. Die, kid. An upper-level Empyrean rushed over, wanting to use the most violent method to smash Yi Tianyun into a meat patty. This time, they weren't careless anymore. Instead, they treated Yi Tianyun as a late-stage middle-level Empyrean or an upper-level Empyrean. If he didn't have this cultivation, how could he instantly kill a middle-level Empyrean? No matter how careless they were, a sneak attack from a lower cultivation would be extremely slow, enough for an Empyrean to react.